Chapter 170. Feng Tianda, you're setting me up, aren't you? Lin Pingchao was completely anxious. He cried with bloodshot eyes, if there's no money, I'll lose this game. I can't be the president of Lin's family, and I can't get back all the money I invested. What do you want me to do? Lin Pingchao, don't forget who you're talking to. Feng Tianda said, I've been helping you all the time. Without my help, how could the Jade Gang stop supplying to Lin's family? Without my help, where can you find so many raw materials of jade? Lin Pingchao also knew that he was too harsh just now. He calmed down and said, but if there's no follow-up money now, I'll lose this game. All the previous efforts will be in vain. It's just a game. It's not a big deal to lose. Besides, it's not over yet. It's not too late to find a way. You're the young master of Lin's family. You can't even get this little money, can you? Lin Pingchao was so angry that he couldn't do anything. If he could find the money so easily, he wouldn't mortgage 3% of the shares of Lin's family to him. I can find a way to get the money by myself. What about the shares I mortgaged? Feng Tianda said lightly, what else can you do? The shares are in the hands of the board of directors. I'll give them back to you when you get back 300 million. If you can't get them back, there's nothing I can do. Lin Pingchao said angrily, but you only gave me 150 million. Stop it. Hurry up and find a way to get the money. Feng Tianda didn't give Lin Pingchao a chance to speak. He hung up the phone directly. Feng Tianda, I'll F***CKU. Lin Pingchao roared at the phone, which scared the others in the bathroom. They thought he was a psycho. They pulled up their pants and ran out. But he also knew it was not the time to lose his temper. The most urgent thing was to find the money. After thinking for a while, he dialed Zhang Xiuying's phone and said, Mom, no matter what you do now, whether you borrow money or mortgage all the houses and shares of the family, you must get me 200 million before 4 p.m., or we'll lose this game. Son, where can I get so much money in such a short time? How about we give up, and the loss will be smaller? Bullshit. Lin Pingchao didn't care that it was his mother on the phone. He roared crazily, 4 p.m., if you can't find the money, I'll kill myself. He was like a gambler who had lost so much that he was hysterical. He wanted to fight Lin Momo to the death at all costs. He was hysterical and would fight with Momo to death with Lin Momo at any cost. Zhang Xiuying was scared by Lin Pingchao. She hung up the phone and hurried out of the house. First, she borrowed 100 million from Zhao Zhongchen. Then she mortgaged several properties of her family and got another 100 million loan. At 4 p.m., Lin Pingchao, Lint right, Lin's, Lin. And, Lint right, LL, Lint, he, want, he the same that you, he said, I, he, Wang, he. As for Qin Haodong, although he sold a product worth 20 million yuan, the total turnover was only 270 million yuan, which was 100 million yuan lower than Lin Pingchao's. Lin Pingchao calmed down when he saw he was in the lead. He looked up at the clock on the wall and then at Qin Haodong. He felt proud. There's less than an hour left until the agreed time of 5 p.m. I'd like to see where you guys can find 100 million. Lin Momo, although the turnover of 250 million was far beyond her imagination, she would lose the game if it went on like this. Seeing her anxious look, Qin Haodong said calmly, don't worry. The big buyer will be here soon. What big buyer? You're hiding something from me, aren't you? Lin Momo asked. Just then, there was a commotion at the door. More than a dozen luxury cars stopped in front of the door. More than a dozen people got off the cars and walked to the jewelry store, surrounded by many bodyguards. Look, the big buyer is here. After saying that, Qin Haodong waved to Zhang Tiniu and others. Go out and bring the guests in. Zhang Tiniu answered and went out. Soon, more than a dozen people walked into the jewelry store. They all wore masks and sunglasses, as if they were afraid of being recognized. The leader was a tall woman. Although she wore a mask and sunglasses, her unique temperament could not be hidden. After entering the store, the woman looked around and saw Qin Haodong. She walked over with a smile, took off the mask and sunglasses, and gave them to the assistant next to her. "Oh, my God, am I seeing things? Isn't this the big star, Ouyang Shanshan? Ouyang Shanshan. It's really Ouyang Shanshan. Goddess, can I have your autograph? Goddess, can you take a picture with me?" Many people immediately rushed up to Ouyang Shanshan when they saw her. However, Chen Fugui and his men protected Ouyang Shanshan closely. With the cooperation of Zhang Tinyu, they directly blocked these people out of the crowd. Then, the people behind Ouyang Shanshan also took off their masks and glasses. Suddenly, the commotion at the scene became louder and louder. These people were all famous stars in Huaxia. There were handsome men and beautiful women. The jewelry store suddenly became full of stars. Fortunately, there were not too many guests in the store, so the situation could be controlled. Ouyang Shanshan took a few steps forward and came to Qin Haodong. She said, "Mr. Qin, these are all my friends. Let's see what good treasures you have in your store." Next, she introduced all the stars behind her to Qin Haodong. These people all came forward to greet Qin Haodong with extremely respectful expressions. None of them were arrogant at all. The onlookers were stunned. They didn't know who this young man was and why so many big stars were so respectful to him. They didn't know that before they came, their boss, Lu Huaqiang, had given a strict order to these people. They should treat Qin Haodong the same way they treated his father. If anyone dared to make Qin Haodong unhappy, they would immediately be given the cold palace and banned for life. Because of this, these big stars put away their arrogance and put on a flattering smile on their faces. Ouyang Shanshan received a call from Qin Haodong, so she came with her friends in the entertainment circle to support him. After greeting them, she said to Qin Haodong, "Mr. Qin, can you introduce your treasures to my friends? Our great Qin Jewelry's jadeite products are all made from the best jadeite materials and carved by master sculptors. They look very exquisite, and most importantly, they're not just for decoration. Each type has its own function, and everyone can choose a treasure that suits them according to their own circumstances." Qin Haodong said to a male star standing next to Ouyang Shanshan, "You haven't been sleeping well recently." This male star was Ma Jun, 30 years old. He was a very famous A-list star in Huaxia and the dream lover of countless female fans. The reason why he came to the jewelry store this time was to show respect to Ouyang Shanshan and the big boss Lu Huaqiang. But deep down, he didn't take a young man like Qin Haodong seriously. Moreover, most stars had trouble sleeping because of the pressure, so it was not a big deal for him to see it. He nodded and said, "Yes, Mr. Qin. I haven't been sleeping well recently." Qin Haodong took 2 steps forward and whispered in Ma Jun's ear, "The reason why you can't sleep well at night is not because of the pressure, but because you dream about a woman who wants to kill you every night. This situation has been going on for about 10 days, right?" Ma Jun was shocked and said in a trembling voice, "How did you know? If you don't want to be the headline of the paparazzi tomorrow, keep your voice down." Qin Haodong continued to whisper in Ma Jun's ear, "This woman was killed by a car accident. 10 days ago, you passed by the road where she was killed on your way home. She attached herself to you because she couldn't find the murderer who killed her, so she vented her anger on you." "Mr. Qin, no, Master Qin, please help me. I really can't hold it anymore." Ma Jun had been dreaming about a female ghost who wanted to kill him since 10 days ago, so he couldn't sleep well every night. He hadn't told anyone about this, but Qin Haodong could tell him clearly, which made him believe that he had met a master. "Take this jade guanine home, and you can sleep well tonight." Qin Haodong pointed to the jade guanine on the counter and said. It was priced at 200 million yuan. The reason why his product was priced at 200 million was not only because the raw material was excellent ice-type jade, but also because this jade guanine was enchanted with 2 kinds of spells, the exorcism spell and the peace spell. It was definitely a good thing to seek good luck and avoid evil at home. Okay, I'll buy it. Thank you for your advice, Master Qin. Ma Jun immediately asked his agent next to him to pay at the cashier. 200 million yuan was indeed an astronomical figure for ordinary people, but it was nothing for him. After all, his life was the most important thing. Lin Pingchao was so jealous when he saw these big stars went straight to Qin Haodong. He couldn't wait to call them all to his side. At this time, seeing Qin Haodong sold a jade guanyin worth 200 million yuan in less than a few minutes, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He had used all his money and even asked Zhang Xiuying to mortgage his house to barely reach the current sales, but he only maintained the lead for a few minutes, and was surpassed in a blink of an eye. Now Lin Momo's sales increased by another 100 million yuan. How could he catch up? But the nightmare was just the beginning. Qin Haodong continued his sales and came to a female star. This female celebrity was called Lu Meina. She was a talented female singer. Miss, have you been weak and lack of qi recently? You used to be easy to sing high notes, but now it's very difficult, and you can't even sing them. Yes, Mr. Qin, you are so right. What do you think I should buy? Lu Meina said repeatedly. Qin Haodong pointed out her physical condition as soon as they met, which convinced her very much. Recently, she had been worried about the lack of qi. As a singer, nothing was more troublesome than this. But she went to the hospital several times, but she couldn't find any reason. Try this on. Qin Haodong said and took out a jade bracelet and gave it to her. Lu Meina took the bracelet and put it on her wrist. Soon she showed a look of surprise. At this time, she felt full of strength and wanted to sing a song immediately. Obviously, this was the effect of the bracelet. Chapter 171. Qin Haodong said, "This bracelet is very cheap, only 30 million. 30 million is really not expensive for such a good thing." After saying that, the female singer immediately turned her head and asked her agent to pay at the cashier. As soon as Lu Meina bought the bracelet, another female star next to her hurried forward and said, "Mr. Qin, help me see which one you have here suits me." "Miss, try this necklace." Qin Haodong began the continuous sales mode. The big stars brought by Ouyang Shanshan were not short of money. It was rare to find something suitable for them, so they all bought it. In less than half an hour, the 20 jade products brought by Qin Haodong were sold out. Ouyang Shanshan brought people here, but when all the things were sold out, she did not buy any herself. She could not help but complain to Qin Haodong, "Why do you have so few things? I haven't bought anything yet. We're all friends. Don't mention it. I've already prepared yours." Qin Haodong said and took out a jade Buddha pendant from his pocket. "Men wear guanyin, women wear Buddha. You can wear it with you. It's good for you." "Thank you. You're so nice to me." Ouyang Shanshan did not know whether she was happy or shy. There was a blush on her delicate cheeks. After all the things were bought, the stars did not stay any longer and left the jewelry store together. At the cashier, Lin Ziyuan was smiling as he collected the money. Fortunately, he paid by card now. If he counted the money in cash, he might really have a cramp in his hands. Some were happy and some were sad. Lin Ziyuan was happy, but Lin Zhigao and his son were pale. Everyone could see that Lin Pingchao lost miserably, without any room for maneuver. At this time, the old man Lin Xiaotian came in from outside with several important members of the Lin family. The clock on the wall just pointed to 5 o'clock. "How is it? Is the result of the game out?" Lin Xiaotian said to Lin Zhigao and Lin Ziyuan at the cashier. Lin Zhigao looked depressed and did not speak. Lin Ziyuan said, "Yes, Pingchao sold 375. 2 million. So much?" Lin Xiaotian was surprised and asked, "What about Momo?" "Momo sold it for 760 million yuan. Lin Ziyuan said with a proud face. After all, this was his daughter's victory. As for Qin Haodong, in his eyes, he was already a prospective son-in-law. The credit of a son-in-law naturally belonged to his daughter. How much did you sell? Say that again. This time, not only Lin Xiaotian, but also the people behind him were shocked. It was amazing that Lin Pingchao could sell for more than 300 million yuan, but Lin Momo doubled his price. To be able to sell more than 700 million in a day was something that they didn't even dare to imagine. 760 million in total, Lin Ziyuan said aloud again. Good, this is really good. As expected of my granddaughter. Lin Xiaotian, the old man, immediately smiled. He knew his grandson and granddaughter very well. He was worried that Lin Momo would lose under Lin Pingchao's little trick, but he didn't expect that she would win with such a big advantage. He turned around and said to Lin Xiaofeng and the other elders, "You've all seen it. Momo is really capable. It's not wrong for me to choose her as president." Then he came to the center of the hall and announced to everyone loudly, "Lin Momo won this competition, and she will continue to be the president of Lin's group." Although he had already guessed the result, Lin Pingchao still felt dizzy and almost fell to the ground when he heard it from Lin Xiaotian's mouth. He left the jewelry store in a hurry. If he stayed any longer, he might vomit blood. Today's failure was a great blow to him. Lin Pingchao left. After the competition, Lin Momo, Qin Haodong and others also left the jewelry store together. After returning home, Lin Pingchao began to smash the decorations in the house as soon as he entered the door. The wine glasses, teacups, and glasses were all smashed on the ground. Even the fish tank in the living room was smashed by him. Several goldfish were struggling on the ground. "Son, what's wrong with you?" Zhang Xiuying hugged Lin Pingchao and said, "Son, we have mortgaged these things. If you break them, you have to pay for it." "Bastard, Qin Haodong, Lin Momo, I want you to die, all of you." Lin Pingchao fiercely shook off Zhang Xiuying and then took out the phone in his pocket to call Feng Tianda. In the Feng's group, a big man in black stood in front of Feng Tianda. The man was about 30 years old. He was not particularly tall, but looked extremely tough. He was Lucas, the right-hand man of Zhou Tianhu, the boss of the Jade Gang in Burma. Lucas said to Feng Tianda, "This time the boss asked me to kill the boy named Qin. I hope you can cooperate with me." "That's great. The boss should have killed the boy long ago." Thinking of Qin Haodong, Feng Tianda gnashed his teeth with hatred. "No one can live after offending our Jade Gang." Lucas said fiercely, "The reason why we came here is that the control of guns in Huaxia is too strict. The boss also spent a lot of effort to transport these guys into Huaxia. I heard that the boy named Qin Haodong is very good at fighting, but can he be better than guns? This time I must kill him and avenge Meng Gang and Meng Tai." In the Jade Gang, Lucas had the best relationship with the Meng brothers, so this time he volunteered to come to Huaxia to kill Qin Haodong. Feng Tianda also thought so. In his eyes, Qin Haodong was already a dead man. He said excitedly, "Mr. Lucas, you take your brothers to have a rest first. I'll inform you when I get the exact news. We have to kill Qin Haodong with one blow and not give Qin Haodong a chance to escape." After that, he asked the housekeeper to take Lucas and a dozen of his men to have a rest. As soon as these people left, his phone rang. Feng Tianda glanced at the caller ID. It was Lin Pingchao. He pressed the answer button. As soon as he pressed the answer button, he heard Lin Pingchao's crazy roar, "Feng Tianda, find someone to help me kill Qin Haodong and Lin Momo." Feng Tianda smiled. There was no doubt that Lin Pingchao lost the game. He said methodically, "Child Lin, it's against the law to kill people. I won't do this kind of thing. If you want to do it yourself. Do you think I don't want to? I found someone to do it 3 times before. Unfortunately, the bitch ran away. As long as you help me kill Qin Haodong and Meng Tai, I'll give up the 3% shares." Lin Pingchao had lost his mind at this time. He dared to say anything. If Qin Haodong heard it, he would be shocked. The mastermind he had been looking for a long time turned out to be Lin Momo's cousin. Will you keep your word? Feng Tianda asked with surprise. The 3% shares might be worth about 1 billion yuan. Although he had it now, it was just a mortgage. Lin Pingchao could redeem it with money at any time. Of course. As long as you help me kill the 2 bitches, I'll give up the 3% shares and the 150 million yuan. Lin Pingchao's eyes were full of bloodthirst. He wanted to kill Qin Haodong and Lin Momo now. Well, it's a deal. Qin Haodong must die. But it's a pity to kill Lin Momo. I promise she won't show up in Jiangnan City again. Lin Pingchao said, that's fine. As long as you take Lin Momo away, I can sit on the throne of the Lin family. Wait for my good news. We'll do it tonight. Feng Tianda hung up the phone and laughed. Zhou Tianhu had sent Lucas to kill Qin Haodong tonight. But Lin Pingchao, the idiot, took the initiative to give him shares worth 1 billion yuan. It was an unexpected fortune. In the Lin's villa, Lin Ziyuan asked Chef Zhang to prepare a table full of food and wine. The family sat together to celebrate. Mr. Lin, I know Momo couldn't win today without you. Thank you for your help. Come on, let's have a drink. Lin Ziyuan said and raised his glass to Qin Haodong with excitement. The little fellow listened and asked curiously, what's a son-in-law? Lin Ziyuan said with a smile, a son-in-law is your father, and your father is our son-in-law. Oh. The little fellow nodded as if she understood, but then she asked, should I call him Papa or son-in-law? Lin Ziyuan gently pinched her little face and said with a smile, of course you should call him Papa. I'm the one who calls him son-in-law. Lin Momo blushed and said, Dad, what nonsense are you talking about? Nonsense? From today on, Haodong is the son-in-law of the Lin family. Lin Ziyuan said and raised his glass to Qin Haodong. Come on, son-in-law, let's get drunk today. The old man really did what he said. After a few glasses of wine, he fell unconscious on the table. Qin Haodong felt funny for his father-in-law's drinking capacity was too poor. After a while, the little fellow also finished eating and ran out to play with Damao and Ermao. Only Qin Haodong and Lin Momo were left at the table. Because of the alcohol, Lin Momo's cheeks had a touch of red, and she looked particularly shy and attractive. She raised her glass to Qin Haodong and said, thank you so much today. Qin Haodong said with a smile, I've said that I'm your son-in-law. We're family. You don't have to thank me. You're glib. I didn't say I would marry you. Lin Momo said, the raw materials of the goods sold today are yours, and the products are all made by you. I'm a little embarrassed that all the money from the sale was taken into Lin's group. Today's sales were 760 million yuan, which was a big loss. Qin Haodong said, it's nothing. I'm already your son-in-law. This money is my betrothal gift. Qin Haodong said with a smile, if you really want to thank me, let's have our wedding night tonight. In your dreams. I have to accompany my daughter. Lin Momo said with a blush on her cheeks. Qin Haodong took Lin Momo's hand and whispered, then let's have our wedding night secretly after our daughter falls asleep. Let's talk about it then. Lin Momo already had Qin Haodong in her heart, so she didn't refuse. Qin Haodong was overjoyed. He couldn't wait to take the little fellow to bed and coax her to sleep. But at this moment, the mobile phone in his pocket rang. The phone call was from Yao Qianqian. She had been responsible for keeping an eye on Lin Pingchao according to Qin Haodong's arrangement. After eavesdropping on the phone between Lin Pingchao and Feng Tianda, she quickly reported the situation to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong listened to the phone, and his face became colder and colder. Finally, there was a sharp murderous aura all over his body. Lin Momo looked very strange. She didn't understand why Qin Haodong suddenly became like this. After he hung up the phone, she asked, who called? What's going on? Chapter 172. Found him? Lin Momo asked in shock, "Who is it? Who wants to kill me?" "It's Lin Pingchao." Qin Haodong briefly told her what Yao Qianqian had heard. Lin Momo plopped down on the sofa and murmured, "How could this be? How could this be? It's just the position of president. Is it necessary to be so cruel? I'm his cousin. In some people's eyes, there is only profit, no family." Qin Haodong said with a murderous look, "Anyone who dares to hurt my woman must die." "Haodong, what are you going to do?" Lin Momo asked nervously. "Don't worry about it. I'll deal with it." In Feng's group, the housekeeper hurried to Feng Tianda's office. After entering the door, he said, "Young master, our people just saw Qin Haodong and Lin Momo driving away from Lin's villa. They went out of the city together." "It's so late. What are they doing out of the city?" Feng Tianda asked. "I don't know, but they looked very excited and didn't bring bodyguards. It seems that they are going out for a ride. Maybe they won the game today and want to go out to celebrate." "Celebrate? A ride? It's all good things today. It seems that God is helping people when they are lucky." Feng Tianda smiled very proudly. The Jade Gang sent killers. Lin Pingchao gave 3% of the shares, and Qin Haodong and Lin Momo ran out of the city very cooperatively. Good things happened one after another today. All he needed to do was to reap the benefits. Since they want to go for a ride, let's go to hell for a ride. A cruel look appeared on Feng Tianda's face. He said to the housekeeper, "Hurry up and call Mr. Lucas. Tell him the opportunity has come. Let's act now." Outside Jiangnan City, the night was cool and the moonlight was like water. Everything looked so beautiful. On the road, a red Ferrari convertible was driving forward unhurriedly. Lin Momo sat in the passenger seat and enjoyed the cool night wind. She said to Qin Haodong, "It's so late. Where are we going?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "To go fishing." Lin Momo looked confused. "Fishing? Where should I go fishing? Besides, we didn't bring any fishing gear. Jiang Taigong used a straight hook to fish, but we don't need a hook at all." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "The big fish will come by themselves in a moment." Lin Momo understood and said, "You mean Lin Pingchao? He's just one of them. We need to catch a lot of them." After Qin Haodong said that, he faintly saw from the rearview mirror that several black cars were catching up from behind. "The fish is here." As he spoke, he turned the steering wheel and drove the sports car off the road, heading towards a remote road. Lucas rushed out of the Feng's group with a dozen of his men. Following Feng Tianda's guidance, they soon found the sports car in front of them. But at that moment, the sports car seemed to have noticed them. It turned into a small road. What an idiot. If their sports car was on the highway, it would be really troublesome for us to catch up. Now that they're on a small road, the superior performance of their sports car can't be displayed at all. Looks like they're really looking for death. Lucas waved his hand and shouted at the driver, "Hurry up and chase after them. There's no one in the wilderness. It's AF** King good place to kill." Although they came to Huaxia, they were still very afraid of the Huaxia police. It should be noted that Huaxia had very strict control over guns. If they did it in the urban area, it would be easy to be discovered by the police. Maybe it would cause big trouble. Now, Qin Haodong and Lin Momo came to the wilderness together, which was tantamount to creating an opportunity for them to do it. After receiving the order, the drivers of these cars all stepped on the gas pedal. In the harsh roar of the engine, several cars quickly caught up with the sports car. After a while, they found that the sports car stopped at the foot of a small hill. Qin Haodong and Lin Momo stood hand in hand at the back of the sports car. In the bright moonlight, the handsome man and the beautiful woman had a feeling of floating in the air. Lucas seemed to feel something wrong, but he didn't care. They all had guns in their hands. How could they be afraid of the unarmed young man in front of them? He got out of the car with his men and surrounded Qin Haodong and Lin Momo. But for the sake of safety, they still kept about 10 meters away from them. Lucas pointed at Qin Haodong with the AK in his hand and shouted, "Boy, you must die today. Let that woman come here, and we can spare her life." Qin Haodong looked at Lucas and said with a smile, "When Meng Tai came last time, I told him that this is Huaxia and it's not the place for you Burmese guys to mess around. But he didn't listen to me and ended up like that. This sentence is also suitable for you now. Hurry up and kneel down with your men to beg for mercy, and then you can have a way to live. Otherwise, you can die with them. Boy, you're looking for death." After saying that, Lucas waved his hand to his men and said, "Shoot him into a sieve." As soon as his voice fell, before his men could even raise their guns, 6 or 7 black shadows suddenly sprang out like ghosts, and in the blink of an eye, all of them fell to the ground. These people were naturally the divine mercenaries hiding in the dark. Saber and his men had reached the peak of the 8th level of overt power. Coupled with their rich experience, it was easy for them to deal with these ordinary people. Lucas's men were knocked out before they even saw who their opponents were. Lucas was shocked. He didn't expect Qin Haodong to have so many masters here. He quickly raised the gun in his hand and pointed it at Qin Haodong. He shouted to Saber and the others, "Don't move, or I'll kill him immediately." Originally, he wanted to take a hostage, but when he shouted halfway, his whole body shook, and there was an inch-long silver needle in his chest. Now he couldn't move anything except his mouth, and his whole body was out of control. "Bastard, what did you do to me?" Lucas completely panicked. Only now did he understand why Meng Tai and Meng Gang were killed without a sound after they came to Huaxia. He had never seen such a strange method before. Qin Haodong came to Lucas, took the AK and threw it to Saber next to him. Then he kicked him to the ground and asked, "Tell me, who are you, and what's your purpose in coming to Huaxia?" Lucas was also quite fierce and cried, "Of course to kill you. No matter who you are, as long as you offend our Jade Gang, there is only a dead end." "Jade Gang? I'll flatten it sooner or later." Then Qin Haodong ignored Lucas and turned to Saber and said, "Keep these guns. Take them to the company's warehouse and hide them. They will be useful in the future." "Yes, boss," Saber replied excitedly. As mercenaries, they had a special feeling for guns. Although these people were only holding ordinary AKs, it still made all the members of the divine mercenaries very excited. "Boss, what should we do with these people?" Saber asked after collecting the guns. "Each of these people's hands is stained with blood. It's a disaster to keep them alive. Send them all to hell." Then Qin Haodong waved his hand and threw a small bottle. "This is body melting powder. Don't leave any traces." "Got it, boss," Saber answered and took the bottle. They were one of the top 3 mercenary groups in the world, so it was natural that they were familiar with this kind of thing. Seeing that Qin Haodong had ordered to kill them, Lucas hurriedly begged, "Please, let me go. I dare not come to Huaxia again." Qin Haodong said coldly, "It's too late to regret now. When you kill people, you should know that you will be killed one day. Boy, if you dare to kill me, our Jade Gang will not let you go." Before Lucas could finish screaming, his neck was grabbed by the long sword, and his life ended with a crack. Then Sword and others also killed Lucas's men. These people had done all kinds of evil in daily life, and now they got what they deserved. After killing all these people, Saber unscrewed the cap of the small bottle. There was light yellow powder inside. He poured a little on Lucas's body and was surprised to find that the body began to melt quickly. In less than 3 minutes, it had turned into a little black powder. As the mountain wind blew, it quickly disappeared, as if it had never appeared. "Boss, this is really good stuff." As mercenaries, killing was inevitable, but they had always thought that it was extremely troublesome to deal with the bodies. If they had body-melting powder, everything would become simple. Soon, Saber also cleaned up the other dozen bodies. Qin Haodong said to Lin Momo, "You go back with Saber first. I still have something to deal with." Lin Momo knew that he must be going to find Lin Pingchao. She wanted to say something, but she hesitated and held back. Lin Pingchao deserved to die. Feng Tianda paced back and forth in his spacious office alone, his face full of excitement. As he walked, he fantasized that Qin Haodong was shot into a beehive, that Lin Momo was lying on his big bed and being ravaged by him, and that there was 3% more shares of Lin's group in his pocket. No matter what, it made him inexplicably excited. Just then, the door was pushed open from the outside. "Who is it?" "I'll stop talking. Don't come in and bother me if you have nothing to do." Feng Tianda was very unhappy when his dream was suddenly interrupted. He turned to look at the door and suddenly opened his eyes in surprise. He said in a trembling voice, "You. Why are you here?" He never thought that it was Qin Haodong, who was shot into a beehive by his imagination. "Master Feng, didn't you send people to look for me everywhere? Why am I not welcome when I come to you?" Qin Haodong went straight into the office and sat on a sofa next to Feng Tianda, looking at him with a playful face. Feng Tianda cursed Lucas in his heart. He brought so many people and so many guns, but still let Qin Haodong kill him here. What a waste. But he dared not say it out. He forced himself to calm down and said, "Qin Haodong, I don't know what you're talking about." Qin Haodong ignored him and said to himself, "Feng Tianda, you can live a comfortable life as a rich man, but you just have to provoke me. You really don't know what's good for you." Feng Tianda said fiercely, "Qin Haodong, I warn you, don't mess around. This is Feng's group. Get out of here, or I'll call the police." Qin Haodong didn't want to talk nonsense with him. He directly used mind bewitching and asked, "Tell me, what's going on between you and the Jade Gang in Myanmar, and how did you hook up with Lin Pingchao?" 10 minutes later, Qin Haodong had asked everything clearly, including how he stopped the supply to Lin's group through the Jade Gang in Myanmar, and how he colluded with Lin Pingchao to deal with Lin Momo. Chapter 173. Late at night, the hustle and bustle of Jiangnan City slowly faded away, and everything seemed to fall asleep. But at this time, there was a great disturbance on the internet. Feng Tianda, the CEO of Jiangnan Feng's group, made a live video broadcast on a video platform on the internet to confess to the world. He not only listed all his bad acts of eating, drinking, gambling, and playing with women over the years, but also clearly stated that the Feng's group colluded with the Myanmar Jade Gang to smuggle raw jade gemstones, evade taxes, and many other dirty acts. At the same time, he also showed the account books and other evidence on the video. Has this bastard gone mad? Feng Tianda's father was doing exercises with a beautiful woman in bed. After hearing the news, he immediately kicked the woman out of bed, hurriedly put on his clothes and rushed to Feng's group. Not only him, the video was like a bomb, immediately blowing all the important members of the board of directors of Feng's group out of bed. Feng Tianda's self-repentance was equivalent to directly pushing Feng's group into the abyss. There was no room for recovery. Some of the Feng family simply ran away, and some looked for Feng Tianda, but no matter how they searched Feng's group, they could not find the shadow of the young master of the Feng family. Then the law enforcement department of Jiangnan City quickly operated. The public security, tax and other departments immediately searched Feng's group, and fixed the evidence. Just a few hours later, Feng's building, which had stood in Jiangnan City for many years, collapsed. Of course, all this was done by Qin Haodong. Before killing Feng Tianda, he did not forget to help Lin Momo eliminate an important competitor. And the young master of the Feng family, who had been arrogant for many years, had now been turned into a cloud of flying ashes by the corpse powder, and was washed down the dirty well along the sewer. In Lin Zhigao's house, Lin Pingchao sat on the sofa in the living room with blood-red eyes, anxiously waiting for Feng Tianda's reply. Looking at him, Zhang Xiuying persuaded, "Son, let's just forget it. Although the house has been mortgaged, we still have 10% of the Lin family's shares in our hands, and we don't have to worry about food and drink for the rest of our lives." Lin Zhigao also said, "Yes, son, Momo is your cousin. It's not a big deal to lose, bullshit." Lin Pingchao sat up from the sofa, grabbed a cup and smashed it on the ground. He roared crazily, Lin Momo is a bitch. I don't have such a cousin. I want her dead. Zhang Xiuying said, but you've done it so many times. Not only did it not work, but you also made us bankrupt. With the help of that guy surnamed Qin, we can't beat him at all. Impossible. I, Lin Pingchao, am resourceful. How could I lose to a woman and a gigolo? They are going to die soon. Then Lin Pingchao laughed wildly. He took out his phone and began to call Feng Tianda. But no matter how hard he called, no one answered. What's going on? Are you King dead? Why aren't you picking up the phone? Lin Pingchao was in a half-crazy state at this time. He cursed and pressed the button of the phone desperately. There's no need to fight. He's already dead. As the cold voice came, Qin Haodong's figure suddenly appeared in the hall of Lin's villa. Why are you here? Seeing Qin Haodong, Lin Zhigao panicked for no reason. Zhang Xiuying screamed in a sharp voice, you've helped that woman to beat my son. What else do you want? Nothing, I just want to settle accounts with your son. Qin Haodong raised his hand and touched Lin Zhigao and Zhang Xiuying's chest. They suddenly fainted. Since Qin Haodong entered the door, Lin Pingchao's madness quickly faded, and fear faintly flashed in his eyes. The more greedy and possessive a person was, the more afraid he was of death and losing his own life. He was the most typical representative. He just wanted to tear Qin Haodong into pieces and eat his flesh, but now he was scared when he saw Qin Haodong in person. What are you going to do? What did you do to my parents? Lin Zhigao and Zhang Xiuying fell down, which made Lin Pingchao more panicked. In his heart, it was much better to face Qin Haodong with 3 people than to face Qin Haodong alone. They're not dead. I just don't like too much noise, and I want to have a good talk with you. Qin Haodong spoke calmly, but it was still difficult to hide the faint flashing killing intent. He said to Lin Pingchao, you arranged the driver who caused the accident when Momo was injured and hospitalized for the first time, right? Lin Pingchao's expression changed, and then he denied, no. Don't talk nonsense without evidence. There was no need to admit it. Qin Haodong had already found the answer from his look. He continued, and the second time, the traffic accident, those killers were also hired by you. Including the third time, you hired that T soldier king from Southeast Asia. Lin Pingchao said, Qin Haodong, don't try to trick me. You must have a recording pen or a camera, right? You want to get the evidence and send me to the Public Security Bureau? Don't dream. I won't be fooled. Qin Haodong ignored him and said, isn't it good for you to be a rich second generation? You don't have the ability, but you want to be a president. If you used normal means of competition, it would be fine. But why did you use such despicable means? You even killed your cousin. Although you have enough methods and are cruel enough, unfortunately, you met me. If it wasn't for me, maybe Momo would have been killed by you. But as long as I'm here, you can't even touch a hair of her. Thinking of his various failures, Lin Pingchao's eyes flashed a touch of hatred, and he said, so what? Although I failed now, it doesn't mean I can't succeed in the future. In the future? Qin Haodong said disdainfully, you have done so many evil things, do you think there will be a future? You must die today. Lin Pingchao's face flashed a trace of panic, but he still forced himself to calm down and said, although you said a lot, there is no evidence. Without evidence, the police can't arrest me, and you can't do anything to me. Idiot, you really don't have a long memory. I told you, I'm not the police, and I don't need evidence. Although you have erased all the immoral things you have done, so what? If I want you to die, even the gods can't save you. Feeling the monstrous killing intent released by Qin Haodong, Lin Pingchao was completely panicked. He stepped back and said, Qin Haodong, I warn you, don't mess around. Killing is against the law. Against the law? Go to hell and sue me. Qin Haodong patted on Lin Pingchao's chest, and the green with genuine qi directly broke his heart meridian. It was already 2:00 in the morning when they returned to Lin's villa. Qin Haodong gently opened the bedroom door and saw the little fellow sleeping soundly, while Lin Momo was sitting on the bed, without even changing her clothes. "Momo, why are you still awake?" Qin Haodong sat close to Lin Momo, put his arm around her shoulder and whispered. "How can I sleep without you back?" Lin Momo said, "How is Lin Pingchao? Are you worried about him or me?" Qin Haodong said. "Of course I'm worried about you. Lin Pingchao has killed my mother and my daughter. He has lost his humanity. It has nothing to do with me whether he is dead or alive. You don't have to worry about me. Look, I'm fine." Qin Haodong's face changed, and he said in a cold voice, "You and the little fellow are my reverse scale. Whoever dares to hurt you must die, even if he is God. Nothing will happen to you if you really kill him, right?" Lin Momo said nervously. Although she had seen a lot of death recently, she was an ordinary person after all. "Don't worry. Trust me. Nothing will happen," Qin Haodong said and held Lin Momo tightly in his arms. "I won't let anything happen to me. I have to take care of you and Tang Tang, and protect you from being wronged for the rest of your life. Haodong, thank you for doing so much for me," Lin Momo said affectionately. "How? Do you want to marry me?" Qin Haodong said with a smile. Lin Momo looked up and hugged Qin Haodong. Then she slowly gave her red lips to him. Obviously, she was answering the question with practical actions. Qin Haodong would not flinch when he encountered such a good thing. He held Lin Momo tightly in his arms and began to attack her with his big hands. The two of them were like dry firewood and a raging fire. But when the raging fire was out of control, Qin Haodong suddenly sniffed and asked, "What's that smell?" Lin Momo also sobered up a little and said, "I smell it too. It seems that something is on fire." She turned her head and saw that there was smoke and fire coming from Tang Tang. She quickly cried, "No, it's Tang Tang on fire." How could there be a fire when she was sleeping? But at this time, Qin Haodong could not care so much. He quickly got up from Lin Momo and held the little fellow in his arms. Then he found that the source of the fire was Tang Tang. The little fellow's clothes were on fire, and there were inch-long flames coming out of her mouth and nose. The strangest thing was that the little fellow was still sleeping, and it seemed that she was sleeping soundly. What the hell? What the hell is going on? Did I give birth to a fire baby? Just as he was letting his imagination run wild, the clothes on his body began to catch on fire. "Call someone to put out the fire," Qin Haodong told Lin Momo, and then rushed to the bathroom with the little fellow in his arms. There was no other way but to put out the fire with water. After rushing into the bathroom, Qin Haodong turned on the shower head, and then the father and daughter stood together. Under the fierce washing of the water, the flames on the two of them finally went out. At this time, the little fellow also woke up from her sleep. "Papa, what are you doing? Why are you taking a shower with me in your arms?" the little fellow asked in a daze. Qin Haodong turned off the shower head and said, "Don't say that." If Papa hadn't reacted quickly, the house would have been on fire. At this time, Saber and the others also helped Lin Momo put out the fire in the bedroom and rushed to the bathroom. Qin Haodong said to Saber and the others, "It's all right. You can go back." "Haodong, what the hell is going on? Why is there a fire all of a sudden?" Lin Momo asked with a worried face. "It seems that there is something wrong with Tang Tang," Qin Haodong said as he held Tang Tang with one hand and began to feel her pulse with the other. It took Qin Haodong 5 minutes to feel the pulse, and then Qin Haodong slowly withdrew his right hand. "Papa, why are you holding Tang Tang's wrist?" The little fellow did not understand what had just happened. She asked curiously. "Haodong, do you see anything wrong?" Lin Momo was worried to death when she heard that her daughter had a physical problem. Chapter 174. It was no wonder that Qin Haodong was shocked. The Suzaku's sacred body ranked 5th among the top 10 sacred bodies in the cultivation world, higher than Ma Wenjua's Kailan's sacred body. The congenital sacred body was a rare cultivation physique, which was rare even in the cultivation world. But in the past few days, he first saw the Kailan sacred body, and in the blink of an eye, his daughter became the Suzaku sacred body. Lin Momo didn't understand this. She asked anxiously, "What are you talking about? What is the Suzaku sacred body?" The little fellow also asked, "Yes, Papa, what is a Suzaku? Is it as beautiful as a peacock? I like peacocks with beautiful big tails." While speaking, her mouth seemed to be about to spit fire again. Qin Haodong quickly turned the little fellow to one side to prevent burning Lin Momo. "You are not a martial artist, so you don't understand. The Suzaku's sacred body is an extremely rare physique in the martial arts world, similar to the martial arts geniuses in martial arts dramas." Qin Haodong was afraid that Lin Momo would be anxious, so he comforted her, "Don't worry, it's a good thing. It won't hurt me." Hearing that, Lin Momo was relieved, but she still said, "But it's not a good thing to catch fire. What if there is a fire? Besides, I have to go to school tomorrow. I will be regarded as a monster by the children." "Don't worry, I have a way to solve it, and the Suzaku's sacred body will only be like this when it has just been awakened. It will be fine in a few days." Qin Haodong asked the little fellow to sit down, and then his hands successively hit 36 major acupoints on her body, using a unique method to seal the fire in her body. After all this was done, the little fellow finally returned to normal, and Lin Momo breathed a sigh of relief. Qin Haodong began to feel her pulse again, confirming that the little fellow was indeed the Suzaku sacred body. The time of awakening of the sacred body was also different. Ma Wenjua belonged to the kind that had been awakened since he was born, but because the Kailan's sacred body was not as special as the Suzaku's sacred body, it was not discovered. The little fellow's Suzaku's sacred body was awakened relatively late, and it was awakened under the dual stimulation of Qin Haodong's elixir and Shantian Heart Sutra. If it weren't for his appearance, it might have to wait for a long time, and maybe it wouldn't be awakened in this life. However, now that the little fellow's Suzaku sacred body was awakened, it was no longer suitable for her to practice Shantian Sutra. Qin Haodong selected a set of Yan Emperor's mental method from his cultivation method and took the little fellow to practice. This was a set of cultivation method of fire attribute. After forming the foundation, the little fellow would be able to control the fire in her body. There was no need to worry about spitting fire like now. After Emperor Yan's mental cultivation method formed a basic cycle in her body, Qin Haodong took her back to bed to sleep. Just in case, Qin Haodong did not leave. Instead, he lay down next to the little fellow. After all, the fire of the Suzaku's sacred body was too overbearing. His current cultivation was too low, and the seal he set was very weak. It was possible that the seal would be broken at any time and cause another fire. The next day, two sensational news broke out in Jiangnan City. First, Feng Tianda, the young master of the Feng family, publicly repented, and then disappeared mysteriously. Then Feng's group was uprooted by the Judicial Department for suspected smuggling and tax evasion. Feng's group, which once occupied half of the jewelry industry in Jiangnan City, completely collapsed. The most bizarre was Feng Tianda's disappearance. According to the surveillance data obtained by the police, it was confirmed that he returned to his room and never came out again. However, such a big living person disappeared out of thin air. Feng's group had an accident, and Lin's group, the second jewelry giant, was not quiet. Lin Pingchao, the third generation of the Lin family, failed to challenge Lin Momo yesterday. After returning home, his emotions were seriously out of control. Later, it caused a myocardial infarction and suddenly died. His father, Lin Zhigao, and his mother, Zhang Xiuying, became mentally ill because of excessive stimulation and were both sent to a mental hospital. In a very quiet small building in the suburbs of the imperial capital, an old man with white hair and a beautiful woman in her 20s were staring at the computer screen in front of them. The video of Feng Tianda's own repentance was playing on the screen. After watching for a while, the old man asked, "Girl, what do you think?" Although the woman looked extremely serious, she gave people a very charming feeling. She blinked her beautiful big eyes and said, "Although this man looks very normal, I'm sure that he is controlled by someone. But the level of the other party is very high, ordinary people can't see it at all. I suspect that the person who cast the spell is from Xianmen. Just as I think." The old man said, "Some time ago, there were 2 videos of public confession in Wufeng County, Jiangnan City. One was the director of the County Public Security Bureau, Fu Haiken, and the other was his brother-in-law, Bai Wenjie. The situation is very similar to that of Feng Tianda. I suspect that it was done by the same person. Grandpa, I've seen those 2 videos. Although they confessed that their minds were controlled, the content of what they said was completely true. It can be seen that the caster is not a villain, so I don't think we need to intervene in this matter." The old man said, "Anyway, it's still against our rules to use Xianmen magic on ordinary people. But I don't want to do anything to him. You go and have a look. If he is a talent, take him in." In recent years, we have lost a lot of manpower, and we are in urgent need of fresh blood. The woman smiled charmingly and said, "Well, I'll deal with the things at hand and go to Jiangnan City right away. Then we'll see whether his magic or my fox hypnosis is more powerful." The old man said with a serious expression, "Girl, although you are talented, you can't use fox hypnosis indiscriminately. Otherwise, if the other party's spiritual power is far beyond yours, the consequences will be unimaginable." The woman smiled and said, "It's not unimaginable. At worst, I'll fall in love with him. Anyway, I'm in my 20s, and I haven't had a boyfriend yet." The old man reprimanded, "Nonsense, the other party can use the spiritual magic to such a high level. He may be older than me. Are you willing to marry an old man?" The woman giggled and said, "I see, Grandpa. If the other party looks as ugly as you, I won't use it. Besides, if I want fox hypnosis to backfire, the other party's spiritual power must be more than 10 times mine. I guess such a person hasn't been born yet." After that, she ran out of the room with a smile. "Girl, how am I ugly? Your grandpa was the face of our family." The old man was so angry that his beard was jumping, but his eyes were full of doting on the woman. In the Lin's villa, because the little fellow's condition was very unstable, Qin Haodong did not let her go to kindergarten. Because such a big thing happened in the Lin family, Lin Ziyuan and Lin Momo rushed to the Lin's group together, and Qin Haodong took care of the little fellow at home alone. The father and daughter played at home all morning. Near noon, the little fellow said, "Papa, I'm hungry. Take me out to eat delicious food." Hearing what Tang Tang said, Qin Haodong suddenly remembered that he had promised Qi Wan to celebrate her aunt's birthday at noon. If he stood her up again, this woman would fight with him. "Tang Tang, let's go to eat delicious food with Aunt Wan at noon today." After Qin Haodong said that, he quickly took out his mobile phone and dialed Qi Wan's number. Seeing that it was noon again, Qin Haodong had not done anything. Qi Wan was sitting in front of the computer angrily. Just then, the phone rang. Looking at the caller ID and seeing that it was Qin Haodong, she immediately became happy and said, "I thought you were going to stand me up again. How could I dare? I dare not offend Aunt Wan Qin Haodong said with a smile, "What do you want to eat at noon?" "My treat." Qi Wan said, "Let's eat Western food. I haven't had steak for a long time." After the awakening of the holy body, the little fellow had excellent hearing. She clearly heard the conversation between the 2 people and immediately shouted happily, "Great! Great! I haven't had steak for a long time. I want to eat fruit salad." Qi Wan originally wanted to eat with Qin Haodong. After hearing the little fellow's shout, she was slightly surprised and asked, "Didn't you go to kindergarten today?" "Tang Tang is not feeling well today. I'll take care of her at home. Is it okay for the 3 of us to eat together?" Qi Wan said, "Of course, I like you the most." Aunt Wan, I like you too. The little fellow shouted into the microphone. Tang Tang, come on, I'll take you to eat delicious food. Chi Wan really liked the little fellow very much. She even dreamed of giving birth to such a lovely little girl in the future. Half an hour later, Qin Haodong and Chi Wan walked into a Western restaurant with the little fellow. Because the three of them were so good-looking, a handsome man, a beautiful woman, and a super cute little fellow immediately attracted many people's attention. The three of them chose a private room and began to sit down and enjoy lunch together. Qin Haodong first filled the little fellow's drink, then raised his glass to Chi Wan, and said, "Come on, let's have a toast. Happy birthday to Aunt Wan, Hearing Qin Haodong mention this, Chi Wan's cheeks turned red, but she still raised her glass and touched it. Before she took back her glass, the little fellow raised her drink and shouted, and me, I also want to wish Aunt Wan, a happy birthday." Qin Haodong and Chi Wan, were both embarrassed, but they still touched their glasses with the little fellows, and then the three of them took a sip together. However, the embarrassment did not end there. After the little fellow put down her drink, she held Chi Wan's arm and asked, "Aunt Wan, where is Aunt Wan, Why doesn't she come to eat with us on her birthday?" Due to the effect of alcohol and embarrassment, Chi Wan's cheeks were already red, as if they were about to drip blood. The little fellow continued to say, "Aunt Wan, why don't you prepare a cake for Aunt Wan's birthday? Shouldn't we blow out candles and eat cake on birthdays?" Qin Haodong was convulsing with laughter. Chi Wan glared at him and said, "You're talking nonsense. Explain." Well, Qin Haodong suddenly couldn't laugh. How could he explain such a difficult question? After thinking for a long time, he finally said, "Tang Tang, Aunt Wan's relative comes once a month, and now she has left. We said celebration just to show respect, so there's no need to prepare a cake." "Oh." The little fellow nodded as if she understood, then raised her head and asked, "Papa, do you have Aunt Wan, Puff, Chi Wan spat out the red wine in her mouth. Fortunately, she reacted quickly and did not directly spit on Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong said awkwardly, "Papa doesn't even have a mother. How can I have Aunt Wan, After that, he quickly put a piece of pizza on the little fellow's plate and blocked her little mouth. Finally, she barely passed the test. After lunch, the three of them went to the amusement park together. Chi Wan rarely went out because of her illness, so she had a great time playing with the little fellow. They didn't leave the amusement park until the sun went down. Lin Momo and Lin Ziyuan went to deal with Lin Pingchao's funeral and would come back very late. Qin Haodong directly took the little fellow to Daddy's security company. Chapter 175. Qin Haodong drove the car back, and Chi Weiner sat in the passenger seat with the little fellow in her arms. In the night, she looked at the man driving next to her, and then looked at the little fellow in her arms. A strange feeling rose in her heart. During these years of illness, she spent most of her time hiding in the house alone. Like ordinary girls, she also fantasized about finding a handsome boyfriend, wearing a beautiful wedding dress, and having a lovely baby. But at that time, she had been living a life that was neither human nor ghost. All of this could only exist in her imagination. Now she finally became a normal person, and everything in front of her was similar to her dream. Unfortunately, her daughter was not hers, and her man was not hers yet. Just as Chi Weiner was immersed in her fantasy, the little fellow suddenly asked in a childish voice, "Auntie Weiner, do you like my papa?" Oh. No. Chi Weiner came to her senses, and a little panic flashed on her face. Auntie Weiner is lying. I can see it. You look at Papa the same way as Mama. The little fellow said, "Auntie Weiner, why don't you be my mama?" Qin Haodong smiled slightly. His good daughter began to find a wife for him again. Chi Weiner glanced at Qin Haodong with a complicated expression. When she didn't know how to answer, a figure suddenly appeared in front of the car and stood in the middle of the road. It was an old Taoist, who seemed to be in his 60s or 70s. He had a big beard and eyebrows, wore a gray Taoist robe, and carried a sword on his back. He looked like an immortal, and his costume was not much different from that of the martial arts films. Because the old Taoist appeared so suddenly, Qin Haodong hurriedly stepped on the brake. In a harsh braking sound, the Honda just stopped close to the old Taoist's legs. Although a traffic accident was avoided, Qin Haodong was still very angry. He rolled down the window and shouted, "Are you shooting or looking for death?" The old Taoist suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Qin Haodong. Although the road was extremely remote and there were no street lights, Qin Haodong and Qi Weiner still keenly felt a flash of light in the old Taoist's eyes. Before they could react, the old Taoist suddenly kicked out. This kick happened to kick the front cover of the Honda. With a loud bang, the front of the Honda collapsed from the kick, and then the whole car flew 7 or 8 meters, flipped a few times, and landed on the side of the hill. Both Qin Haodong and Qi Weiner were dizzy from the fall. Fortunately, they were protected by their cultivation, so they were not hurt too much. The little fellow was always tightly protected in Qi Weiner's arms, so she was also unscathed. Not good, we've encountered an enemy. At this time, Qin Haodong realized that the appearance of the old Taoist was not a coincidence. He was coming for them. He hurriedly kicked open the deformed door, and then suddenly jumped out. Qi Weiner also raised her hand to tear open the car door and climbed out with the little fellow. Outside the car, the old priest kicked the Honda car away and walked over slowly. "Who are you?" Qin Haodong asked. His expression was unprecedentedly dignified. With the strength of the spirit, he could see through the cultivation of warriors at a higher level than himself. The old Taoist in front of him had reached the peak of the 9th level of inner power. He was only one step away from the supreme power realm. No wonder he could kick the car away. His current cultivation had not broken through to the inner power realm. It was definitely not a good thing to face such a powerful enemy. Even if he joined forces with Qi Weiner, they would never be able to compete with the old Taoist. The old Taoist walked to the front of the two people. He was not in a hurry to fight. He said, "I'm Dao Tong." "Dao Tong, is there any conflict between us?" Qin Haodong asked. Dao Tong said with killing intent, "Boy, the ghost slave I spent 10 years to cultivate was destroyed by you. Do you think there is any conflict between us?" As soon as he said this, Qin Haodong and Qi Weiner were shocked. It turned out that the old Taoist was the evil cultivator who planted the ghost fetus. It was true that one could not judge a book by its cover. The old Taoist looked like a master, but he practiced such evil spells. Now that they knew the identity of the old Taoist, they knew that today's fight to the death was inevitable. Qi Weiner sent the little fellow to Qin Haodong and said to the old Taoist with killing intent, "Ox nose, is it the ghost fetus you planted in me?" The old Taoist didn't answer Qi Weiner's question, but glanced at her from head to toe. Then he clicked his tongue and said, "Perfect, it's really perfect. A perfect ghost slave like you is much better than what I expected. It's your honor to be my ghost slave. Now go back with me. I promise you can break through the supreme power realm within 3 years. Bah, you are the ghost slave. Your whole family are ghost slaves. Today I'll fight with you." Qi Weiner had lived a ghost life for 10 years. At this time, she was full of deep hatred for the old Taoist. She shouted and rushed to the old Taoist. At the same time, Qin Haodong took out his mobile phone from his pocket and put it in the little fellow's hand. He said eagerly, "Tang Tang, run quickly and call Mom." "Papa, why should I run?" the little fellow asked with a puzzled face. "This old Taoist is a very powerful bad guy. You must not be caught by him. Papa and Auntie Weiner are going to deal with him. Run quickly." Qin Haodong did not have any hope of defeating the old Taoist. He knew very well how big the gap between the 9th level of overt power and the 9th level of covert power was. There was no hope of escape, let alone victory. So he stayed himself to buy time for the little fellow to escape. But Papa, aren't you specialized in beating bad guys? Qin Haodong had left an omnipotent impression in the little fellow's heart in the past, so she did not feel fear at the moment. This bad guy is very powerful. Run quickly, or it will be too late. Qin Haodong knew that time was limited, and he had no time to talk too much with the little fellow. He pushed her back, then turned around and rushed to the old Taoist. If he joined forces with Qi Wan, they might be able to hold on for a while. If they were defeated by the old Taoist one by one, they would die faster. Qi Wan-er's body was extremely strong, and her hands were sharper than knives, so she did not use any weapons and directly grabbed at the old Taoist's face. At the same time, Qin Haodong rubbed his body from behind the old Taoist and punched him in the back. Although it was the first time for the two people to attack together, they cooperated very well. In the face of the fierce offensive of the two people, the old Taoist showed a touch of disdain at the corner of his mouth. How dare a grain of rice shine? He flicked his left sleeve gently and directly met Qi Wan-er's fierce claws. Under the infusion of genuine qi, the soft sleeve was as hard as a steel plate, and it abruptly blocked Qi Wan-er's claw that could break gold and stone. Then he stretched out his right hand and slapped Qin Wan-er's lower abdomen, which directly sent her flying. The old Taoist's movement seemed light, but it was amazingly fast. After all this was done, he punched back, just to meet Qin Haodong's fist. With a bang, the two fists met. The old Taoist's body did not move, but Qin Haodong, like a fired cannonball, was shocked to fly out more than 10 meters, and the genuine qi in his body was shattered. After landing, his legs went soft, and he flopped to the ground. No matter how hard the two people fought, the gap in cultivation was too big. The old Taoist was almost a half step to the supreme power realm, which was not something the two people could compete with. The old Taoist didn't look at Qin Haodong again, but looked at Qi Wan-er and nodded with satisfaction. Good, you are worthy of being the ghost fetus selected by the old Taoist. The ghost slave refined is really extraordinary. You can even bear the palm of the old Taoist with 30% of my power. Your cultivation is also very fast. You will soon enter the second level of covert power. Qin Haodong got up from the ground and glanced around. He did not see the shadow of the little fellow, so he was relieved. No matter what happened to him, as long as the little fellow was fine. The old Taoist said to Qi Wan-er, don't try to resist anymore. Your current cultivation is still too low. Go back with the old Taoist quickly. When the best ghost slave is refined, even the strong of the supreme power realm will run away when they see you. Bah! I will not go back with you to be a walking dead. Qi Wan said angrily, you dare to attack me. Aren't you afraid of the revenge of our Qi family? The old Taoist sneered and said, the Qi family is really strong, and there are many masters of the supreme power realm, but what can they do? I am an idle person. Where can they find me? Moreover, as long as I refine you into the best ghost slave, even if you are an expert in the supreme power realm, you can only be defeated by me, Dao Tong. Damn you, I will fight with you. Seeing that she couldn't scare the old Taoist even with her family background, Qi Wan-er could only choose to fight hard. She shouted and rushed to the old Taoist again. This time, she only attacked and did not defend. She used a desperate move. Qin Haodong took out a dagger and joined the fight. However, the gap between their cultivation was too big. Neither of them could stand 3 moves. Qi Wan-er was hit by the old Taoist Tao Tong and fell to the ground, vomiting blood. Qin Haodong was also shocked by the palm again. You little ant, now you know how powerful I am. The old Taoist looked at Qin Haodong with a sneer and said, boy, you dare to ruin my good plan. Now I will send you to hell. After that, the old Taoist's figure flashed, turned into a flash of lightning and came to Qin Haodong, and suddenly punched Qin Haodong in the chest. This punch had used 100% of Tao Tong's strength, and the speed was even faster. Qin Haodong had no time to respond. He felt like his chest was hit by a train, and a huge force came to him. If he had resisted it with his cultivation alone, this punch would have been enough to shatter all his internal organs. But at this moment, an invisible force came from his waist and resolved most of Tao Tong's punch, ensuring that his internal organs were not injured. But even so, Qin Haodong's body suddenly flew out, hit a big tree next to him, and then fell to the ground. Hey! The old Taoist showed a look of surprise. He did not expect that the young man could withstand his full blow, and did not even spit blood. Boy, you have some skills, but you must die today. Tao Tong said as he stepped to Qin Haodong's side, stepped on his shoulder, and then swung his right fist and hit him hard in the chest again. A muffled bang resounded through the night sky, and the old Taoist's fist hit Qin Haodong's chest firmly. However, it was once again dissolved by the invisible force, and his whole body had been smashed to the ground. Chapter 176. The saddest thing was that he didn't even have the ability to resist. He couldn't run even if he wanted to. He could only wait for the next punch. Sure enough, Tao Tong became more and more surprised. Boy, let me see how many punches you can take. After that, he used all his strength and raised his fist, ready to hit Qin Haodong's face again. Seeing that Qin Haodong's life was hanging by a thread, Qi Wan-er's eyes were red and she wanted to rush over and fight with Tao Tong. However, she was too injured. After struggling a few times, she could barely stand up, but it was too late to rush over. At this moment, a young figure came out from behind the tree and rushed desperately to the old Taoist. Bad guy, let go of my papa. It turned out to be the little fellow who rushed over. She did not leave just now, but hid behind a tree. Now seeing her dearest papa being pressed to the ground by the old Taoist and beaten fiercely, she no longer cared about anything else and rushed to the old Taoist madly. After seeing her, Qi Wan hurriedly cried, "Tang Tang, don't go over, it's dangerous." When Qin Haodong heard the voice of the little fellow, he was shocked and quickly shouted, "Tang Tang, don't come over, run. Papa, I'll help you." If you could see it, at this time, the little fellow's childish face had a resolute look, and her eyes flashed with madness. She had already realized that the papa that she had obtained with great difficulty was about to be lost. After practicing Shantian Heart Sutra for more than half a month, coupled with the awakening of Suzaku's sacred body, the little fellow ran at full speed to the extreme. In the blink of an eye, she rushed to the back of the old Taoist. Tao Tong naturally noticed Tang Tang, but he didn't pay attention to such a little fellow. He was ready to continue to attack Qin Haodong, but at this moment, a burning feeling came from behind. The little fellow came behind Tao Tong, opened her mouth, and a yellow flame suddenly shot to Tao Tong. Qin Haodong was now only at the 9th level of overt power, and the seal imposed on the little fellow was very weak. Tang Tang broke through the seal in excitement, and the flame of Suzaku's sacred body immediately sprayed out. The old Taoist never dreamed that such a little child would set fire to himself. He was immediately swallowed by the flames. With a scream, he slapped the little fellow away, and then desperately rolled on the ground, trying to put out the flames on his body. Tang Tang. Seeing that the little fellow was beaten by Tao Tong, Qi Wan let out a cry. Qin Haodong jumped up from the ground like crazy and rushed to Tang Tang. Although Tao Tong did not use his full strength, the little fellow was too small. After being hit, it immediately hit a nearby rock like a cannonball. The rock was extremely sharp, and if the little fellow hit it, it would die. Tang Tang. Qin Haodong shouted at the top of his lungs and ran desperately to the little fellow. However, the distance was too far, and it was too late to save her. Seeing that the cute little face of the little fellow was getting closer and closer to the rock, Qi Wan couldn't bear to see it anymore and fell to the ground. Qin Haodong also stopped, his eyes flashing with madness. Just when both of them were desperate, a dark shadow suddenly flashed from behind the rock and reached out to take the little fellow in his arms. Tang Tang, my Tang Tang! Qin Haodong experienced from despair to surprise. Seeing that the little fellow was saved, he ran to this side and held his daughter in his arms. Tang Tang, are you all right, Tang Tang? Qin Haodong was horrified to find that the little fellow had no movement. He quickly reached out and grabbed Tang Tang's pulse. After a while, he finally felt relieved. It turned out that the little fellow was too emotional and had just used the flame of Suzaku's sacred body, which caused her body to fall into a deep sleep. Fortunately, Suzaku's sacred body had been fully awakened and had a strong defense ability. If it was an ordinary child, it would have been killed by Dao Tong's palm. After confirming that his daughter was safe, Qin Haodong finally calmed down. If something really happened to the little fellow, he would die with Dao Tong at the cost of his body and soul. He turned to look at the dark shadow who had saved the little fellow. It was a very beautiful woman. It was strange that she looked very dignified, but she gave people a feeling of charm. Thank you for saving my daughter, Qin Haodong said to the woman. It's nothing. It's nothing. The woman's voice was very pleasant. Qin Haodong said to the woman, you'd better go, or it will be very troublesome. The reason why he didn't run away was that he couldn't leave Qi Wan alone, and it was impossible for him to escape from Dao Tong's hands in his current state. But the woman in black was different. She had nothing to do with him and Qi Wan, and her cultivation had reached the level of covert power. If she ran now, she would probably escape from Dao Tong's hands. The woman said, why run? I can help you. You're no match for him at all. Qin Haodong said, turning his head to look in the direction of Dao Tong. He was shocked at first glance. It turned out that the flame on Dao Tong's body was not the same as the ordinary red flame, but a golden yellow, which looked extremely dazzling in the dark. Ordinary people might not be able to see the difference of the flame, but Qin Haodong knew very well that this was the color of the innate fire. In the cultivation world, there were 7 levels of flames. The lowest was naturally the most common mortal fire, and then the innate fire. When the little fellow Suzaku's sacred body had just awakened yesterday, it was still the mortal fire. He didn't expect it to be promoted to the innate fire so soon. No wonder she fell asleep. It turned out that the level had been upgraded. Although the innate fire was only 1 level higher than the mortal fire, it was countless times more powerful. Not only was it hot, but it couldn't be extinguished by ordinary methods. No wonder Dao Tong hadn't put out the flame on his body for so long. Dao Tong's clothes, hair, and beard were all turned to ashes. He also found that the flame on his body was different. No matter how he patted it, it would not be extinguished. But after all, he was an expert infinitely close to the supreme power realm. After calming down, he immediately had a way to deal with it. He took a deep breath and released the genuine qi in his body, making a genuine qi isolation layer between the flame and his skin. With this isolation layer, the innate fire became a rootless fire and soon extinguished itself. But at this time, Dao Tong was also extremely miserable. His bald head turned into a roasted egg, and all his clothes were burned clean. But every inch of his skin was burned black, making people feel that he was not exposed. As a strong man at the 9th level of the covert power, Dao Tong had never suffered such grievances. Although the flame outside his body was extinguished at this time, the fire inside his body was burning, and the amazing killing intent soared unprecedentedly. He picked up the sword that had fallen to the ground and pointed to Qin Haodong, the little fellow, and the woman beside him. You all have to die today. Roasted sparrow. You're talking big. Let me see what you can do. The woman in black came here later. She didn't know how powerful Dao Tong was, so she rushed up before Qin Haodong could stop her. When the woman came to Dao Tong, there was already a purple soft sword in her hand. The light of the sword looked extremely gorgeous in the night sky. With a flick of her wrist, the purple soft sword shot to Dao Tong's shoulder like a purple lightning. Obviously, she still had some reservations and didn't kill him immediately. But Dao Tong was now in a state of madness. He had nowhere to vent his anger, so he fiercely slashed the long sword in his hand. When the two swords met, there was a crisp sound. The sword in Dao Tong's hand was directly cut in two by the purple light. No wonder the woman in black was so confident. It turned out that the soft sword in her hand was a big sword that could cut iron like mud. Dao Tong didn't expect his sword to be cut in two, but he was an experienced master after all. After a slight surprise, he was calm in the face of danger. He threw away the hilt in his hand and sidestepped the woman's sword. Then he came to the woman in black like a ghost and raised his hand to grab the woman's wrist. The woman had thought that by relying on the power of the purple sword, she could beat Dao Tong back. She didn't expect him to be so powerful. Before she could react, the purple sword in her hand was already in Dao Tong's hand. As Dao Tong grabbed the sword, he slapped the woman in black's chest with his left hand. The woman in black quickly dodged sideways, but her speed was still a little slower than Dao Tong's palm. Although she avoided her chest, she was hit in the shoulder and flew out like a kite with a broken string. Fortunately, Qin Haodong rushed over and reached out to support her, so she didn't fall to the ground. After Dao Tong succeeded in one move, a ferocious look flashed across his face. He shouted to Qin Haodong fiercely, "Boy, take this little beast to hell with you." After that, he waved the purple soft sword in his hand and was about to attack Qin Haodong. Just then, someone shouted, "Dao Tong, stop it, or I'll die in front of you." Dao Tong turned his head and saw that it was Qi Wan, who spoke. At this time, she grabbed the dagger that Qin Haodong had just knocked down and pressed it tightly against her neck. Dao Tong sneered and said, "Little girl, are you crazy? You're in cahoots with me. How dare you threaten me with your life?" Qi Wan said, "Don't you want me to be a ghost slave with you? If you let them go, I'll go with you. If you don't let them go, I'll cut off my head now and see how you can become a ghost slave." Seeing that Qi Wan was going to make such a big sacrifice for him, Qin Haodong exclaimed, "Wan, that's absolutely impossible. You know, once you become a ghost slave, you will become a walking corpse for life and never be reincarnated." Qi Wan smiled sadly and said, "Why not? My life was saved by you. If it weren't for you, I would have become a walking corpse long ago. Now I'll give it back to you as a repayment for saving my life." This, Qin Haodong wanted to refute but had nothing to say. Qi Wan suddenly laughed and said, "In fact, I'm very satisfied. Although it's not a long time, I've finally lived a normal life. Wherever I go, people envy my appearance. I've had my period like a normal woman. The only regret is that I haven't tasted love yet. Qin Haodong, you're the first man who walked into my heart after I became a woman. I wanted to pursue you, but unfortunately I don't have the chance now. If there's a next life, I'll marry you and have a lovely daughter like Tang Tang." Speaking of this, she looked cold and said, "Take Tang Tang away, hurry up." Qin Haodong was moved. He didn't expect this girl to love him so deeply that she could become a walking corpse for him. At this moment, Dao Tong cried with a ferocious face, "You want to go? Did I agree? You're all going to die today, none of you will live. How dare you?" Qi Wan snapped, "Aren't you afraid that I'll cut off my head?" Chapter 177. Qi Wan looked lost. She didn't expect her last trump card to be useless. Qin Haodong said to her, "Let's die together with this ox nose. Do you dare?" "Of course, I'm willing to die with you." Qi Wan looked at Qin Haodong with burning eyes, full of affection. Qin Haodong said decisively, "In this case, let's die together with the ox nose." As the reincarnated Emperor Green would, he certainly had a final trump card, which was to detonate his spirit. However, his spirit was too powerful. Once it was detonated, no life within 100 meters could survive. Its power was comparable to a small nuclear bomb. The price was also huge. After detonating his spirit, his body and soul would be destroyed, and he would not even have the chance to be reincarnated. Hearing the conversation between the two men, Dao Tong didn't care at all. He stood there and didn't rush to do anything. At this time, his mentality was like a cat catching a mouse. He wanted to humiliate the opponent and then kill him, so as to eliminate his inner hatred. And in his view, Qin Haodong, who had not even reached the covert power, would not pose a threat to him. Qin Haodong ignored Dao Tong and turned to the woman in black and said, "I'm responsible for entangling this old man. You leave with my daughter." Although his way of self-detonating spirit was powerful, it also did not distinguish between friend and foe. Once detonated, no one could survive, so he wanted the woman in black to leave with the little fellow. Moreover, the woman's left shoulder was injured, which did not have much impact on her escape. He thought that the woman in black came to help because she saw injustice. Now that she had seen Dao Tong's power, she would be happy to leave. After all, no one wanted to die. Unexpectedly, she shook her head and said, "I won't go." Qin Haodong said anxiously, "Why not? If you don't go, everyone will die." The woman in black said, "My purple lightning sword is still in the hands of the old man. I promised Grandpa that if the sword exists, I will die. If I don't get the sword back, I will not leave anyway." Qin Haodong cried, "Are you out of your mind? A broken sword is not as important as a human life." Although this purple soft sword looked good, it was not a magic weapon in Qin Haodong's eyes. "No, I have to get the sword back." The woman in black said stubbornly, "Besides, I can't leave you guys alone." Dao Tong grinned and said, "In that case, you can take this sword with you first." After saying that, she raised her hand, and the purple soft sword turned into a purple light that shot towards the black-clothed woman. The speed of the purple flash sword was so fast that it was too late for Qin Haodong to stop it. Just as the sword was about to pierce through the woman's throat, a big hand suddenly appeared out of thin air. Two rough fingers clamped the tip of the purple flash sword. Qin Haodong was startled. This person appeared too suddenly, and his speed was simply too fast. In addition, Dao Tong's cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th level of covert power. He was able to catch his sword with 2 fingers. Why was his cultivation so terrifying? At this time, everyone's eyes were focused on the owner of the big hand. He was a tall Taoist, but his robe was too ragged, his hair was messy, and he was carrying a big wine gourd on his back. He looked a little crazy. After catching the purple flash sword, the old Taoist reached out and grabbed the hilt. He turned back and handed it to the black-clothed woman. "Little girl, look after your sword this time. Don't lose it again." After looking at the crazy old Taoist, Qin Haodong was shocked again. With his powerful spirit, he could easily see through warriors who were 1 level higher than him, such as Dao Tong, who had reached the 9th level of covert power. But in the face of this crazy old Taoist, he couldn't see anything. There was only one answer. The crazy old Taoist's cultivation had broken through the supreme power realm. After handing over the sword, the crazy old Taoist smiled at Qin Haodong and said, "I'm sorry, little guy. I'm a little late and scared you." Qin Haodong didn't understand what the old Taoist meant. At this time, Dao Tong cried, "Dao Xian, why are you still alive? Why did you come here to meddle in my business?" The crazy old Taoist looked back at Dao Tong and said, "Younger brother, why are you still so stubborn after so many years? Can't you see that you have fallen into the devil's way?" Dao Tong shouted hoarsely, "I don't care. Even if I become a devil, I will become the most powerful devil. Then I will go back and destroy the Qingyi school." The crazy old Taoist sighed and said, "Younger brother, come back with me. Reflect on your mistakes and wash away the sins you have committed for so many years. Dao Xian, don't think I'm afraid of you. Today, I will fight with you to the death." Dao Tong's words were full of momentum. When others thought he was going to fight, the old Taoist suddenly changed direction and rushed directly to Qi Wan. This guy wanted to grab Qi Wan and escape together. Younger brother, stop. Dao Xian took a gentle step forward. Although it was only one step, he suddenly came to Qi Wan's side and hit Dao Tong with his palm. Dao Tong had no way to dodge, so he could only hit Dao Xian with his palm. With a bang, the violent airflow swept the scene. Dao Xian did not move at all, but Dao Tong flew out more than 10 meters like a broken sack. This scene was a copy of Dao Tong's shaking of Qin Haodong just now, but the roles were reversed. It was Dao Tong who was shaken. As soon as Dao Tong's feet landed on the ground, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Dao Xian's gentle palm had seriously injured him. He raised his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth, pointed to Dao Xian and cried, Your cultivation has improved again. Dao Xian said, Younger brother, your aptitude was originally above me, but unfortunately, the devil in your heart is too strong. Don't tell me this. When I become a ghost slave, I will destroy the Qingyi school. After Dao Tong finished speaking, his dark body was covered with a cloud of blood mist. The scope of the blood mist was getting larger and larger, and his whole body was directly illuminated. Blood shadow. Younger brother, you have even practiced this kind of strange magic. You really don't repent. Dao Xian said as he stepped out again. He came to Dao Tong with the magic of shrinking the ground into an inch and slapped him hard with his palm. There was a scream, and then the blood mist slowly disappeared, but Dao Tong's figure also disappeared, leaving only a pool of blood in place. Qi Wan stepped forward and asked, Taoist priest, is he dead or has he run away? The crazy old Taoist said, he has run away. I didn't expect younger brother to be so profound that he has even practiced the evil magic of blood shadow. Run away? Qi Wan's face suddenly became ugly. She was a ghost slave made by Dao Tong. As long as Dao Tong was not dead, he would definitely come to her for trouble. As if reading her mind, the crazy old Taoist said, Don't worry. The evil magic of blood shadow will be greatly damaged as long as it is used once. It can't be recovered without 3 or 5 years. Besides, my palm just now was not in vain. Now even if Dao Tong reappears here, he will be no match for you. Hearing the old Taoist's words, everyone was relieved. Otherwise, no one could sleep well with such a powerful enemy eyeing them covetously. Qin Haodong asked, Taoist priest, why do you call him younger brother? What is the origin of this evil old Taoist? It's a long story. In fact, it's all my mistake. Dao Xian sighed and said, Dao Tong used to be my younger brother. At that time, we were all disciples of the Qingyi school. I just entered the school 1 year earlier than him, so I was his older brother. At that time, there were only 2 brothers of the same age, so we were very close. He was very talented in martial arts. Although I entered the school 1 year earlier than him, his cultivation was much faster than mine. I had not reached the 9th level of overt power, but he had broken through to the level of covert power. He was a genius among geniuses in our whole school. It was also because of this that he grew the devil in his heart. He was too eager for quick success and instant benefits. When he was trying to reach the Supreme Power Realm, he not only failed to enter the Supreme Power Realm, but also suffered a great loss of vitality. His cultivation suddenly fell back to the level of overt power realm. Dao Xian sighed again, as if feeling sorry for Dao Tong. Then he continued, in fact, if Dao Tong could calm down and practice again, it would not take too long for him to reach the Supreme Power Realm again with his aptitude. Unfortunately, he was too proud and eager for quick success and instant benefits. He was eager to improve his cultivation when his mind was unstable. Finally, he was stuck in the bottleneck of the Supreme Power Realm and could not break through. Although my aptitude was average, I was more steady when I practiced and never impetuous. More than a decade ago, I finally stepped into the Supreme Power Realm. Because of this, Dao Tong, who had been stuck in the Supreme Power Realm, was greatly stimulated and fell into the devil's way from that time. By chance, I found that he secretly practiced the 5 elements ghost refining method, an evil cultivation method. Although the Qingyi school was not famous, it was definitely a decent school. After learning that Dao Tong practiced the evil cultivation method, I did not dare to hide it and reported it to my master. My master was furious and asked me to abolish Dao Tong's cultivation and then drive him out of the school. But I grew up with Dao Tong and always regarded him as my younger brother. How could I have the heart to abolish him? So I made my own decision. Although he was expelled from the Qingyi school, I did not abolish his cultivation, hoping that he could repent. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "You are wrong. This kind of person has been possessed by the devil. How can he repent so easily?" Yes, I was confused for a moment. I didn't see it as clearly as you. Dao Xian said, Dao Tong left our Qingyi school. Without the shackles of the rules, he became more unscrupulous. He began to find people to plant evil fetuses, and this little girl was one of the victims. Later, my master was furious when he got the news. He asked me to leave the school to catch Dao Tong. I could not return to the school until I cleaned up the school. Qin Haodong said, "Your master is really confused. He knows that you can't kill Dao Tong, but he still sent you to catch him. How is that possible?" Dao Xian said awkwardly, "Little brother, you are right. In any case, I can't kill Dao Tong. I have caught him twice, but under his bitter begging, I finally let him go. I hope he can turn over a new leaf." Qin Haodong said, "The result is that he didn't change, and it didn't work at all." Dao Xian embarrassedly said, "I have always wanted to capture him back to the sect and imprison him, to make him face the wall and reflect on his wrongdoings, but then he hid somewhere and did not appear for a long time, so I have not been able to find him. This time I found him in Jiangnan and hurried over. It was not convenient to do it in the city, so I wanted to find a suitable opportunity to catch him. I didn't expect that he would run away when I got a pot of wine. When I found him again, it was just now. Ugh! That jug of wine of yours almost cost us our lives." Facing Dao Xian, Qin Haodong really didn't know what to say for a while. His cultivation was so high, but he was so unreliable. Chapter 178. No. Although Dao Xian's request was somewhat unexpected, Qin Haodong refused without hesitation. Dao Xian really liked the little fellow's aptitude. He thought that Qin Haodong refused because he didn't know his ability, so he quickly said, "Young man, you may not know my cultivation. I have reached the 2nd level of the Supreme Power Realm. Your daughter will not suffer a loss if she is my disciple." The 2nd level of the Supreme Power Realm. After Dao Xian finished speaking, the woman in black and Qi Wan both showed a shocked look. It should be known that martial arts in Huaxia were declining. Those who could reach the Supreme Power Realm were strong and could even set up their own sections. But this old Taoist had reached the 2nd level of the Supreme Power Realm, which was absolutely admirable. Now the old Taoist took the initiative to accept the little fellow as a disciple, which was definitely a blessing from his previous life. In their opinion, Qin Haodong would definitely agree immediately. After all, this was an opportunity that ordinary people couldn't get. Unexpectedly, Qin Haodong still shook his head and said, "No, Tang Tang is still young. I have no intention of letting her apprentice." Are you kidding? He was the Emperor Greenwood. Although his cultivation had not yet recovered to its peak state, the cultivation methods and cultivation experience he had mastered were unparalleled. Moreover, the 2nd level of the Supreme Power Realm was really nothing in his eyes. When he was in the cultivation world, his servants who guarded the cave and cleaned the house were all cultivators in the gold core stage. Moreover, there was a great difference between cultivation and ordinary martial arts. When a cultivator at the 2nd level of the gold core stage fought against a cultivator at the 2nd level of the Supreme Power Realm, he could definitely beat his opponent to the ground without any strength to fight back. The woman in black and Qi Wan both widened their eyes. If Tang Tang was their daughter, she would definitely agree immediately. But Qin Haodong refused a supreme power without hesitation. They really wondered if he had just been beaten silly by Dao Tong. Dao Xian was also quite surprised and said unwillingly, "Little brother, would you like to think about it again?" Qin Haodong said, "No need to think about it. You'd better solve the problem of Dao Tong first, and then we'll discuss it." He also felt that it was against common sense to directly refuse Dao Xian, so he pushed the time to catch Dao Tong. With Dao Xian's indecisive character, he didn't know when he could solve Dao Tong. Dao Xian sighed and said, "That's right. Even if this little girl takes me as her master now, she can't enter the Qingyi school. I'll come to you after I've completely solved Dao Tong and returned to the Qingyi school." Qin Haodong didn't say anything more. As long as he was given some time to recover his strength, even if it was only 1/10 of his previous life strength, it would be enough to sweep away all the major sections. At that time, naturally, no one would dare to accept his daughter as an apprentice. Since the matter was settled, Dao Yan floated away, quickly disappearing into the night. Soon, there was a roar of motor in the night. Several SUVs stopped on the side of the road. It was Zhang Tiniu who had received Qin Haodong's order. Qin Haodong came to Qi Wan, Thinking of the confession of true feelings in the face of life and death, both of them could not help but show a trace of unnaturalness. Especially Qi Wan, she just thought that she would not be able to survive today, so she told Qin Haodong what was on her mind. Now that the danger had been solved, her white cheeks were so red that it seemed that blood was about to drip out. "You go back with Tiniu first, and I'll see you in a few days." Qin Haodong didn't know how to face this girl. On the one hand, Qi Wan, was willing to sacrifice her life for him, and she was even willing to follow Dao Tong to be a ghost slave, which showed her deep love. On the other hand, the earth was not like the cultivation world, where there were too many secular restrictions. He already had Lin Momo and the little fellow, so he naturally had to be careful about emotional problems. Qi Wan responded softly and followed Zhang Tiniu to get in the car and go back together. Qin Haodong turned back to the woman in black and said, "Thank you for saving my daughter. I still don't know your name." "My name is Hu Shaoxian, you can also call me Shaoxian." The woman in black said. "Good name." Qin Haodong said, "Miss Hu, where do you live? I'll send you back now, and then treat the injury on your arm." Hu Shaoxian was the little fellow's savior, and Qin Haodong was full of gratitude to her. "I just arrived in Jiangnan province, and I haven't found a place to live yet." Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, "Then you come home with me first and treat the injury on your arm." Hu Shaoxian nodded and followed Qin Haodong to an off-road vehicle left by Zhang Tiniu. Back at Lin's villa, Qin Haodong handed the little fellow to Lin Momo and briefly told her what happened tonight. He told her not to worry, that Tang Tang just fell into a deep sleep and would recover tomorrow. After that, he took Hu Shaoxian back to his home. After entering the living room and turning on the light, Qin Haodong found that the girl was more beautiful than he had imagined, and there was a kind of coquettish charm from her bones, which was very lovable. Qin Haodong said, "Take off your coat. I want to see your injury." Hu Shaoxian looked up at him and said, "My left arm was broken by the old Taoist. Help me take off my clothes." There was nothing wrong with this sentence, and Hu Shaoxian said it very solemnly, but it brought infinite temptation. He calmed his mind, reached out to unbutton Hu Shaoxian's coat one by one, and then slowly took it off. Hu Shaoxian had very few clothes inside. After taking off her coat, there was only a pink suspender vest left, which combined with her milk-like delicate skin, which was very attractive. There was a big black handprint on his left shoulder, which was as smooth as water. It seemed that Taoist Dao Tong's palm was really heavy. Qin Haodong reached out to feel Hu Shaoxian's pulse. The bone of her left arm was indeed broken, but it was not too serious. "Bear with it for a while. It may hurt a little." Qin Haodong reached out and grabbed Hu Shaoxian's left shoulder. With a click, the broken bone was reconnected, and then he used green with genuine qi to help her comb the injured meridians. 2 or 3 minutes later, the black handprint on Hu Xiaoxian's shoulder slowly disappeared. Qin Haodong applied a layer of muscle and bone-breaking ointment to her and said, "Well, don't fight with others for 3 days, and don't lift heavy things." Hu Xiaoxian felt a coolness on her shoulder, and then the piercing pain disappeared. She moved her arm and said in surprise, "It's really healed. I haven't seen such magical medical skills. You deserve to be the medical sage." Qin Haodong asked in surprise, "Do you know me?" Hu Xiaoxian put on her coat again and said, "Of course I know you. I'm here to find you." Qin Haodong asked, "Find me? What's the matter?" Hu Xiaoxian smiled slightly. She was full of charm, and her smile gave people a feeling of spring. "Did you kill Feng Tianda?" Qin Haodong didn't expect her to ask such a question. He said with a smile, "Miss Hu, you can't talk nonsense. I'm a doctor. I can't save people. How can I do something like killing people?" "Well, it's my fault." Hu Xiaoxian smiled again. "Let me rephrase my question. The video of Feng Tianda's surrender, as well as the video of Fu Haiken and Bai Wenjie's confession in Wufeng County, all have something to do with you, right?" Qin Haodong didn't know what this woman did, so he naturally wouldn't admit it. He said lightly, "Miss Hu, I'm very grateful to you for saving my daughter, but these questions really make me feel inexplicable." Hu Xiaoxian said to herself, the reason why Feng Tianda, Fu Haiken, and Bai Wenjie could voluntarily confess was not that they found their conscience, but that they were confused by a special method. Coincidentally, these people all have a grudge against you, and you are proficient in this method. You have helped the Jiangnan criminal police team to interrogate stubborn criminals several times. You can naturally get a conclusion by connecting these things. Am I right, Dr. Qin? Seeing that the other party had clearly investigated his affairs, it was obvious that she came with a purpose. He asked, "Tell me, what's your purpose?" "Don't worry, I mean you no harm." Hu Xiaoxian said charmingly, "You have reached the 9th level of overt power at a young age, and you have the ability to control people's minds. You are a rare talent, so I invite you to join our organization." Qin Haodong looked at Hu Xiaoxian and said, "If you want me to join you, you have to tell me what organization you are in advance, right?" Hu Xiaoxian's expression changed, and she said solemnly, "Have you heard of the Xianyuan Pavilion of Huaxia?" "No." Qin Haodong shook his head and said. He was just a doctor and didn't know much about this. If he knew that there was such a special department in Huaxia, he would not have used mind bewitching in such a high-profile way. At least he would not have posted the videos of these people's confessions on the internet. Hu Xiaoxian said, "The Xianyuan Pavilion is a special department in Huaxia. I come from the Xianyuan department of the Xianyuan Pavilion, and I want you to join the Xianyuan department." After a pause, she said, "The Xianyuan department is responsible for managing all the people in the Xianyuan sect in Huaxia. They are prohibited from using the Xianyuan skill on ordinary people. You have used the Xianyuan skill to control the minds of ordinary people, which has violated the rules of the Xianyuan department. Fortunately, you have not done evil, so we are not going to hold you accountable. On the contrary, we invite you to join our Xianyuan department and serve Huaxia." Qin Haodong said, "Thank you for your kindness, but I have a girlfriend and a daughter, and I am a doctor, so I don't want to join your department." Unexpectedly, Qin Haodong refused her. Hu Xiaoxian's expression changed and she said, "As a member of the Xianyuan sect, you should serve the country." "I'm sorry, I'm not a member of the Xianyuan sect as you said. I'm just an ordinary person, an ordinary doctor." "Well, since you said you are an ordinary person, let's do it according to the rules of ordinary people." Hu Xiaoxian said, "Feng Tianda recorded a video of his confession before he disappeared. He must have been controlled by you, and then he disappeared again. I guess he must have died in your hands. If I send you to court, I believe you know the consequences. Are you threatening me?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "The court needs evidence. Although you come from a special department, you can't convict me just because of your words." Hu Shaoxian said, "Of course I know that, but if you can make Feng Tianda confess, I can make you confess. If you join our Xianyuan department, it's fine. If not, you will spend the rest of your life in prison." Qin Haodong said, "Well, I really want to see how you will make me confess. You won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. Do you think your magic is invincible? Today, I will let you know that there is always someone better than you." Hu Xiaoxian's expression changed and became extremely charming. She gently pulled down her coat, revealing her white shoulders and sexy collarbones. She said coquettishly, "Little handsome boy, what did you do to Feng Tianda? Can you tell me?" Chapter 179. Fox hypnosis was a unique secret method that Hu Xiaoxian's grandmother passed on to her. The effect of this kind of magic was not much different from Qin Haodong's mind manipulating. It was a kind of spiritual magic. Mind manipulating could not be used on people with strong spiritual power, otherwise they would be backfired. The same was true of Fox hypnosis, but the effect of backfiring was somewhat different. Once backfired, the caster would fall in love with the other party without hesitation. Because of this, Hu Xiaoxian's grandfather repeatedly warned her not to use this kind of magic easily. The reason why Hu Xiaoxian dared to use this kind of magic was that she had enough confidence. Since she was born, her spiritual power had been far superior to that of ordinary people. Although her cultivation had just broken through to the first level of covert power, her spiritual power was enough to match that of a strong man at the supreme power level. In order to make Fox hypnosis backfire, the spiritual power must be more than 10 times that of the caster. In Hu Xiaoxian's opinion, 10 times the spiritual power of a strong man at the supreme power level did not exist on the earth. Even if there was, it was extremely rare. It was impossible for her to meet such a person. The chance of winning the 5 million prize was many times smaller. In particular, Qin Haodong's cultivation had just reached the 9th level of overt power. Normally, his spiritual power was much weaker than that of a warrior at the covert power level. Therefore, in her opinion, her spiritual power would definitely crush Qin Haodong and make him obediently tell the evidence of his murder. Then she would use this evidence to threaten him to join the Xuanzi department. She didn't expect that Qin Haodong had the primordial spirit of a heavenly master in his mind. His spiritual power was more than 10,000 times stronger than that of a warrior at the supreme power level. Therefore, when Hu Xiaoxian's spiritual power attacked Qin Haodong's sea of consciousness, she immediately suffered an overwhelming counterattack. "Oh my God, I won the prize." This was the last trace of her consciousness. She only felt that her eyes were black, and then she lost consciousness and fell to the ground with a plop. Seeing Hu Xiaoxian fall to the ground, Qin Haodong hurriedly cried, "Hey, don't do this. How can you seduce me and blackmail me?" Anyway, she was his daughter's savior. Qin Haodong still helped her to the bed and then injected a green wood genuine qi into her. Very happily, Hu Xiaoxian slowly opened her eyes. Seeing that she woke up, Qin Haodong quickly said, "Don't blackmail me. I didn't touch you. You fell by yourself." After that, his eyes met with Hu Xiaoxian's. He couldn't help but feel surprised. Why did her eyes seem to be full of love? Hu Xiaoxian had experienced the consequences of the spiritual backfire. At this moment, her heart was full of Qin Haodong, and there was no room for any impurities. She knew that she had completely fallen in love with the man in front of her. Although it was an accident, the person she chose was not bad. Falling in love with such a handsome guy was not a sad thing. "Haodong, I'm in love with you." Hu Xiaoxian gazed at Qin Haodong and said. Qin Haodong originally wanted to reach out to feel Hu Xiaoxian's pulse again. After hearing her words, he felt like he was struck by lightning and quickly stepped back. "I'm telling you, you can't fake this kind of thing. I already have a girlfriend. You've seen it too. I even have a daughter. You should just give up." Hu Xiaoxian said, "It doesn't matter. I don't care what you have, as long as you are good to me. Impossible. I have a girlfriend and a daughter. I don't have time to be nice to you. The debt of love with Chi Wan had not been solved. Qin Haodong did not dare to provoke another woman, even if Hu Shaoxian was beautiful. I don't care. Anyway, I've fallen in love with you. I can't change it even if I want to. Hu Shaoxian was telling the truth, but it was not the case in Qin Haodong's ears. He said, I've only known you for a few hours. How could you fall in love with me? Tell me honestly, what do you want? Haven't I already told you? I don't want anything else, as long as you are good to me. Hu Shaoxian said as she sat up from the bed. She checked her clothes and asked, Did you do anything to me when I fainted? No, definitely not. Qin Haodong waved his hand again and again. Then do you want to do something? It's not too late now. Hu Shaoxian first winked at Qin Haodong, then stood up and stretched, showing her perfect figure in front of him. Yes. No, your injury has healed. You'd better go now. Looking at the beautiful and charming Hu Shaoxian, Qin Haodong felt that his heart was beating faster and faster. If it went on like this, he might not be able to hold on. Go? Why should I go? You're my man. I'll follow you for the rest of my life. This is my home in the future. Hu Shaoxian said as she swayed her sexy body and stepped toward Qin Haodong. I tell you, don't come over. I'll be rude to you. In the face of such a great beauty, Qin Haodong was a little flustered. Well, I want to see how rude you are. Anyway, I'm yours. You can do whatever you want to me. Hu Shaoxian's voice seemed to be charming. She stretched out her two white and tender arms and hugged Qin Haodong's neck. She stared at him with her charming eyes. The deep love in her eyes made Qin Haodong's heart tremble. He really couldn't understand how such strong emotions could appear in such a seemingly incomparably coquettish woman. He didn't know that the Fox clan had been a mysterious and unique clan since ancient times. Each of the women of the Fox clan looked coquettish and infatuated. They would never fall in love with a second person in their life. Although Hu Shaoxian was not a member of the Fox clan, the celestial fox cultivation method she practiced was from the Fox clan, so she naturally had the characteristics of the Fox clan. You. Let me go. At this moment, Qin Haodong seemed to have become a little sheep being stared at by a pervert. He hurriedly stretched out his hands to push Hu Shaoxian away. Unexpectedly, he suddenly pressed on the place where he shouldn't have pressed. The elastic and smooth feeling made him forget to take his hands back for a moment. Hu Shaoxian's body trembled slightly, but she did not dodge. Then she said coquettishly, How about it? Little man, do you like it? If you don't like it with clothes on, I can take them off. Only then did Qin Haodong realize where his hands were pressed. He reluctantly took them back and said with embarrassment, I didn't mean it. Fool, I'll be yours sooner or later. What's the difference between intentional and unintentional? Hu Shaoxian said, putting her towering peaks on Qin Haodong's chest. They were so close that they could even clearly feel each other's breath on their faces. Qin Haodong hurriedly pushed her away, but this time he pressed his hands on his shoulders. Looking at his nervous look, Hu Shaoxian giggled and said, Little man, you're so shy. Is it your first time? In fact, it's also my first time. Seeing that he was teased by a beautiful woman like this, Qin Haodong was full of grievances but had nowhere to vent. He couldn't push the woman in front of him down in a daze. Hu Shaoxian said, Forget it. Look at your timid look. Tell me, which room will I stay in tonight? I'll stay in that room. Qin Haodong raised his hand subconsciously and then regretted it. The room he pointed to happened to be the one opposite his bedroom. Hu Shaoxian stepped over and reached out to gently support his cheek. Then she lifted his chin and said, Little man, I won't close the door at night. If you regret it, you can come at any time. After that, she kissed Qin Haodong's cheek with her tender red lips, and then went back to the room while twisting her sexy body. Seeing Hu Shaoxian close the door, Qin Haodong sat on the sofa powerlessly. 3 words jumped out of his mind: vixen. After returning to the room, Hu Shaoxian took out her mobile phone and dialed a phone number. Soon an old voice came over the phone: "Girl, how's it going? Did you find that man?" "I found him, but there was a big accident." "What accident? Is that man a hidden master?" "No." Hu Shaoxian said in a low voice, "Grandpa, I used fox hypnosis on him, and, you little girl, didn't I tell you not to use it indiscriminately? Why didn't you listen to Grandpa? What was the result?" The old man asked eagerly. "The result was that his mental strength was extremely strong, and I was backfired." "What? You were backfired? Is there really someone who is 10 times stronger than your mental strength? How is that possible?" On the other side of the phone, the old man jumped up. After stabilizing his mood, he cried, "Girl, how do you feel now? Do you really fall in love with that old guy?" Hu Shaoxian said, "The backfire of fox hypnosis is extremely strong. I can't extricate myself now. I'm going to find your grandma now. Why did she pass on fox hypnosis to you? Now it's troublesome." Hu Shaoxian quickly said, "Grandpa, it's not Grandma's business, and now it has happened. It's useless for you to find Grandma." "Alas." The old man let out a long sigh and asked, "Tell me, is that old monster more than 100 years old? Should I call him brother or uncle when I see him?" "Grandpa, I'm actually teasing you." Hu Shaoxian giggled when she said that. "You little girl, how dare you make such a joke with Grandpa? I'll punish you for 3 years of confinement." The old man on the other side of the phone was angry and amused, but he also put down a big stone in his heart. If his baby granddaughter really fell in love with a bad old man, it would be terrible. "Lass, what you said just now, which one is true and which one is false?" Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, "In fact, it's all true, but I pretended to be unhappy. I did use fox hypnosis, and I did get backfired, but the other party is a handsome man in his 20s, not the kind of old man you think. Grandpa, I'm lucky, right? Are you happy for me?" The old man sighed and said in a sad voice, "Girl, since it's already like this, there's no need to lie to Grandpa. Don't worry, no matter how old and ugly he is, Grandpa can hold on." "Grandpa, why don't you believe it? The other party is really a handsome man in his 20s. The old man cried, "I'll be a ghost if I believe you. Do you think your grandpa is really stupid? How can a young man in his 20s have such a strong spiritual force?" It was no wonder that the old man didn't believe it. In his opinion, those who could have spiritual force 10 times stronger than that of the Supreme Power Master were all old monsters without exception. Believe it or not, anyway, he is a handsome man, 10 times more handsome than you when you were young. Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, "That's it. I'm going to take a bath first, and then I'll go and flirt with the handsome man." She hung up the phone, but the old man couldn't sleep. He talked with his granddaughter all night, but he didn't know which sentence was true and which was false. Qin Haodong had just been flirted with by Hu Shaoxian, and his whole body seemed to be on fire, especially the second leader. He was almost out of control. He rushed into the bathroom, turned on the shower head, and poured cold water from head to toe. Then he felt a little better. Chapter 180. Qin Haodong wiped off the soap on his face and saw Hu Shaoxian standing at the door in a charming way. In such a moment, Qin Haodong, who had just been extinguished by the cold water, regained his fighting spirit. Qin Haodong quickly grabbed a small basin next to him to protect his key parts and cried, "Why are you here?" Hu Shaoxian said, "This is the bathroom." "Of course I'm here to take a bath." Qin Haodong cried, "No, there is a bathroom downstairs. Go downstairs if you want to take a bath. Close the door quickly. It's quite big. Why are you so timid?" Hu Shaoxian left the bathroom with a smile and turned to go downstairs. Qin Haodong quickly closed the bathroom door and threw away the small basin in his hand. He suddenly had a strange feeling in his heart. As a man, how could he be forced like this by a woman? After taking a shower, he hurriedly returned to his room and closed the door. He even locked it for the first time in his life. Qin Haodong was tortured by Hu Shaoxian. Who knew if this girl would touch his bed in the middle of the night? With her great charm, he might really have sex with her. Fortunately, the night was safe. When Qin Haodong got up the next day, Hu Shaoxian also got up early and was doing morning exercises in the yard. Compared with others, her way of morning exercises was very special. She was not boxing, not running, but dancing. It had to be said that Hu Shaoxian's dance was really good. Her face was off the charts, her figure was curvy, and her dancing posture was moving. In the early morning sunshine, she brought people infinite beauty and temptation, which made Qin Haodong stunned for a while. 5 minutes later, the song ended and Hu Shaoxian finished dancing. She turned to Qin Haodong and smiled charmingly. How was it? Did I dance well? Yes. Qin Haodong couldn't help but say. He had never seen such a moving dance. After that, he felt a little inappropriate and said, "When are you leaving?" Hu Shaoxian said, "Why should I leave? I said that you are my man. I will be wherever you are in this life. I won't leave if you don't leave." You. Qin Haodong didn't expect to be pestered by this woman. He said angrily, "If you don't leave, I'll call the police." Hu Shaoxian didn't get angry. Instead, she giggled and came over to hold Qin Haodong's arm. "Well, if you want to call the police, I'll say that you molested me. Let's see who the police believe. You. If you do this again, I won't be polite anymore." "Alright, you want to chase me away? You have to be able to beat me first." The more Hu Shaoxian said, the tighter she held Qin Haodong's arm. Her breasts were pressed tightly against his arm. Qin Haodong blushed and was speechless. His cultivation had just reached the 9th level of overt power, while Hu Shaoxian was a real master of covert power. Faced with this kind of female tenant who he could not chase away, nor could he beat, and who was ready to be taken by him at any time, there was really nothing he could do. "If you don't want to leave, then stay here." "I'll leave." After that, Qin Haodong left his home angrily and walked to the Lin's villa. Hu Shaoxian laughed behind him and said, "Little man, remember to come back early at night. I'll wait for you after taking a bath at home." Qin Haodong slipped and almost fell to the ground, which made Hu Shaoxian laugh again. When he came to the bedroom, the little fellow was still lying on the bed and sleeping. Lin Momo was next to her. Seeing Qin Haodong coming in, she asked worriedly, "She hasn't woken up yet? Is there anything wrong? My daughter is sleeping so soundly. What can happen to her? Don't think too much." Qin Haodong said as he put his hand on the little fellow's pulse and began to feel her pulse. After what happened last night, he found that there had been great changes in the little fellow's body. Emperor Yan's Heart Sutra had completely stabilized at the 1st level, and all the fire in the body had been absorbed and transformed into genuine qi. In terms of the purity and quantity of genuine qi alone, the little fellow's cultivation was comparable to that of a warrior at the 3rd level of overt power. This kind of cultivation speed was absolutely against the natural order. On the one hand, it was because of the awakening of the Suzaku sacred body. On the other hand, what happened last night had stimulated her too much and stimulated the potential of the little fellow. From this point of view, it was a blessing in disguise. Otherwise, it would take at least half a year for her to reach the current realm. The biggest advantage of this kind of advancement was that the little fellow could control the fire in the body. She didn't have to worry about casually causing a fire. As long as she didn't take the initiative to attack people with fire, the secret of her spitting fire would not be discovered. In fact, spitting fire was the most primitive instinct to attack with fire. It would be better if there was a set of fire system cultivation method to control fire. Qin Haodong's only fire system cultivation method, Emperor Yan's Heart Sutra, was only a cultivation method. It could not control fire to attack. While he was thinking, Lin Momo asked worriedly, Haodong, how is Tang Tang? Qin Haodong said, she's fine. She's fine. She'll wake up soon. While speaking, the little fellow suddenly opened her eyes and cried in horror, bad guy, let go of my papa. Her memory still stayed at the moment when Dao Tong attacked Qin Haodong last night. Qin Haodong was moved. Having such a daughter made him feel very warm. He said, don't be afraid, Papa is here. The little fellow saw Qin Haodong and Lin Momo in front of her, and the look of horror on her face slowly faded. She grabbed Qin Haodong's hand and asked, Papa, where's the bad guy? Qin Haodong patted her chubby little face and said, the bad guy has been beaten away by Tang Tang. Really? Then I'll protect Papa from now on. If I meet a bad guy, I'll burn him with fire. As the little fellow said, she spat out a small flame in the air. Qin Haodong hurriedly said, Tang Tang, you can't spit fire without Papa's permission. Why? I want to beat the bad guy. The little fellow asked with a puzzled face. I'm still young. Sometimes I may not be able to tell who is good and who is bad. It would be bad if you burn the good guy. In addition, your ability to spit fire is very special. Other children don't have it at all. What if they know you can spit fire and treat you as a little monster? There will be no children to play with you, and you will become a child without friends. The little fellow quickly covered her mouth with her chubby little hand and said with a silly face, I don't want to be a little monster. I want to have good friends. Qin Haodong was afraid that the little fellow would spit fire everywhere and cause unnecessary trouble. He continued, that's right. Don't let others know that you have this ability. Otherwise, if you are caught by the bad guy, you will be in trouble. Then you will never see Papa and Mama again. No, I don't want to leave Papa and Mama. The little fellow said with a serious face, I'll only spit fire when Papa asks me to. After listening to the little fellow's words, Qin Haodong's heart moved. Through the battle with Dao Tong last night, he realized that there were still many masters in the world. To better protect Lin Momo and the little fellow, he had to improve his cultivation as soon as possible. Due to the particularity of his cultivation method, he could not break through the bottleneck of the foundation realm without sufficient spiritual qi. In this case, he had to think of other ways, such as improving the cultivation of qi wan, ma wenjua and others through elixirs. The improvement of their cultivation was equivalent to the improvement of his own strength. But his current cultivation was still unable to refine elixirs suitable for masters of internal strength. But with the congenital fire of the little fellow, it was completely different. As long as he found a suitable alchemy furnace, with the congenital fire and his superb alchemy skills, he could refine higher-level elixirs. Thinking of this, Qin Haodong was excited. The urgent task was to find a good alchemy furnace that could withstand the congenital fire. Ordinary alchemy furnaces would explode before the elixirs were refined. Where could he find a suitable alchemy furnace? He thought about it and suddenly remembered Fatty Wang, whom he had met in the antique street last time. The mirror of yin yang in his hand was from them. Maybe they had other good things. After all, these antique dealers usually hid good things and did not put them in their shops. After making up his mind, Qin Haodong sent the little fellow to kindergarten after breakfast and drove straight to the antique street. After getting out of the car, he went directly to Fatty Wang's shop and was surprised to find that it was closed and not open. He walked around the street again and did not find the fake old Taoist and other blackmailers, which made him very strange. Fatty Wang and others should not have washed their hands so soon. He went to the shop next to Fatty Wang's. The owner was a middle-aged man in his 40s. Qin Haodong asked, "Brother, let me ask around. It's almost noon. Why hasn't the fat boss next door come yet?" The middle-aged man said, "He can't come." "What's wrong? What happened?" Qin Haodong asked in surprise. Fatty Wang is crazy. Crazy? He was fine some time ago. Why did he suddenly go crazy? The middle-aged man said, I don't know the specific reason. Anyway, he is crazy now. I went to see him a few days ago. I have been neighbors with Fatty Wang for more than 10 years, but he didn't know me at all. He was crazy and kept talking nonsense. I couldn't understand him at all. Qin Haodong asked, Brother, can you learn what he said from me? I didn't pay much attention to it. It seemed that he was shouting something like Zhang Dahu's life, shouting revenge and so on. Sometimes he even shouted that I would fight with you. Big brother, can you tell me where Fatty Wang lives? I want to go and see him. The middle-aged man said, I can tell you, but you have to be careful. Now Fatty Wang is very sick. When he goes crazy, he even beats his mother. Don't worry, brother. I'll pay attention. Qin Haodong got the address from the middle-aged man. It was not too far from the antique street. About 10 minutes later, he arrived at Fatty Wang's house. It was a spacious yard. There was a 3-story building in the yard. It was completely built according to the European style. It was very beautiful. It seemed that Fatty Wang had made a lot of money these years. Qin Haodong came to the big iron gate and knocked several times. The gate opened and a middle-aged woman in her 30s came out. The woman was a little fat. Her face was black and blue. It seemed that she had been beaten. Who are you looking for? The woman asked. I'm looking for Fatty Wang. I'm his friend. Qin Haodong said. He is crazy now. Why are you looking for him? Go back quickly. The woman was about to close the door. Qin Haodong said quickly, Don't worry. I'm a doctor. I heard that Brother Wang is sick, so I came to see him. Chapter 181. Send him to a mental hospital? Qin Haodong said, Madam, you have to think about it. If you really send him to a mental hospital, his life will be over. The woman sighed and said, Look at the wounds on my body. They are all from him. He beats everyone when he is crazy. My mother and my son have also been hurt. If I had any other way, I would not send him to a mental hospital. After all, we have been husband and wife for more than 10 years, and it will cost a lot of money to go to a mental hospital. He used to be the backbone of our family. He has been living a better life these years, but he suddenly got sick. I don't know what he did in his last life. Qin Haodong said, Madam, let me see him. If I can't cure him, you can send him to a mental hospital. Well. The woman looked at Qin Haodong suspiciously. He was so young and did not look like a doctor. Qin Haodong also understood what she was thinking and said, Don't worry, madam. My treatment is free. I don't need a penny whether I cure him or not. If you can cure him, you can save a lot of medical expenses. Are you sure you don't need money? The woman asked. Yes, I don't need a penny. Although Qin Haodong was not related to Fatty Wang, he did not hate him too much. Now he was eager to cure Fatty Wang and find out the source of the yin-yang mirror. Well, come with me. The woman opened the door and let Qin Haodong into the yard. After entering the door, Qin Haodong heard a violent cry. Zhang Dahu, you killed my parents, my son, and my man. I will kill you today. Then, there was a series of crashing sounds. It seemed like someone was smashing something. The woman said with a sad face, Little brother, he is going crazy again. After that, she took Qin Haodong to the front of the room, but she did not open the door. Instead, she took Qin Haodong to see through the window. The whole window glass had been smashed into pieces. Fortunately, the window was equipped with a protective fence, so the person inside could not get out. Qin Haodong looked through the protective fence and saw a man with a dirty face. He was waving a kitchen knife that had been sharpened. He was madly venting his anger everywhere. Apart from the various decorations in the room, even the furniture had been smashed into pieces. The man was the crazy Fatty Wong, but compared to 10 days ago, he had lost a lot of weight. If one didn't look carefully, one wouldn't be able to tell. After seeing Fatty Wong, Qin Haodong frowned slightly. He saw that Fatty Wong's whole body was covered by a layer of faint black qi, which was a typical symptom of being possessed by a ghost. He had long suspected that Fatty Wong was not really mentally ill, but was contaminated by something unclean. It seemed that it was true. After confirming his thoughts, he turned to the woman and said, "Sister-in-law, can you tell me how he went crazy? The more detailed, the better." The woman thought for a moment and said, 10 days ago, he collected a batch of antiques from somewhere. When he was sorting them out, my son was naughty and accidentally broke a porcelain guanyin statue. Then he suddenly went crazy and smashed all the antiques he collected. That's how he is now. After that, the woman asked, "Little brother, can you cure this disease?" He is not mentally ill at all. He is possessed by an evil spirit. In the old saying, it's called being possessed by a ghost. Qin Haodong said. What? Possessed by an evil spirit? How is that possible? The woman cried in surprise. Some magicians and Taoists often use bodhisattva statues and guanyu statues to suppress some ghosts that can't be subdued. If I'm not wrong, there is a very powerful ghost suppressed in that guanyin statue, and your son happened to break it. After the ghost was released, it was possessed by Fatty Wong. It seems so. The woman became more frightened and said to Qin Haodong, "Little brother, please, as long as you can take that ghost away, you can ask for as much money as you want. I've said that it's free." Qin Haodong said, "Sister-in-law, don't worry. I will cure him soon." The woman cried, "Little brother, thank you. Thank you so much. As long as you can cure Fatty Wong's disease, you will be the benefactor of our family." Qin Haodong nodded. When he was about to go in to treat Fatty Wong, there was a shrill siren at the door. A medical van with a red cross on it drove into the yard. After the van stopped, a middle-aged male doctor in his 40s got out of the van, followed by 2 nurses wearing big masks. Each of them held a foot-long electric baton in their hands. Police. Baton. Hearing Fatty Wong's constant roar, the 3 of them immediately came over. The middle-aged doctor glanced at Fatty Wong, who was locked up in the room, and turned back to the 2 young nurses and said, "This is a typical symptom of a psychotic frenzy. Be careful when you fight later. Don't be soft, or you will hurt yourself." After that, he turned to Qin Haodong, the nurse, and asked, "I'm Ma Guoli, the chief physician of Jiangnan City Mental Hospital. Are you the patient's family?" The woman said, "I'm his wife," but Ma Guoli interrupted her and said, "No buts. The patient's condition is very serious. Open the door quickly, and we will take him to the mental hospital immediately." After that, he turned on the baton in his hand. "Police," the baton crackled, and the electricity crackled. "Police," the baton released a foot-long blue electric arc. The woman asked in surprise, "Dr. Ma, what are you doing? Are you going to use this to shock my husband?" Ma Guoli said, "Of course. Look at his current symptoms of mania. If we don't subdue him, how can we take him away?" "No, that's not possible." The woman was obviously frightened by the electric baton in Ma Guoli's hand. She quickly said, "Dr. Ma, if you do this, we won't treat him." Ma Guoli immediately frowned and said discontentedly, "Why are you so insensible as the patient's family? He is now a violent mental patient. How can he be cured if we don't treat him? Besides, you called us to come. Now that we are here, you say you won't treat him. Do you think we doctors are very free?" After that, he turned back to the 2 nurses and said, "Open the door and take the patient away." The 2 nurses answered and were about to enter the door with the electric baton in their hands. The woman quickly cried, "No, you can't take my husband away like this." Ma Guoli pushed the woman away and said, "Get out of the way." Don't delay our treatment of the patient. How could the woman stop the strong Mogwili? She was pushed aside at once. Just as they were about to enter the door, they heard someone next to them shouting, "Stop!" Qin Haodong couldn't stand it anymore. He stepped forward and said, "How can you be a doctor? First, your judgment of the patient's condition is inaccurate. He is not mentally ill at all. Second, even if he is mentally ill, you have to listen to the family's opinion on whether to treat him or not. His family has said that they won't treat him. Are you going to take him away?" Mogwili looked back at Qin Haodong and said with disdain, "Who are you? Do I need you to teach me how to be a doctor?" Qin Haodong said, "I am also a doctor, a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner." A traditional Chinese medicine practitioner? A traditional Chinese medicine practitioner is also a doctor? It's just some tricks to deceive people. How dare you talk nonsense in front of me? Ma Guoqiang said with disdain, "Now the patient's condition is very clear. He has typical symptoms of violent mental illness. For the sake of social stability, we must take him back for treatment." Qin Haodong sneered and said, "For the sake of social stability? What a big hat. I think it's for the commission of treating patients." Mogwili's expression froze when he was exposed. Then he shouted, "It's none of your business. You are a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. Can you treat mental illness? I have already said that this is not a mental illness, and I can also treat it." Mogwili laughed exaggeratedly and said, "Now you say this is not a mental illness. Are you saying that he is bewitched?" Qin Haodong nodded and said, "You are right. He is indeed bewitched." Mogwili didn't expect Qin Haodong to say that. He was slightly stunned and said, "It is said that traditional Chinese medicine is a feudal superstition. Now it seems that it is true." Then he turned back to the woman and said, "I am the attending doctor of the mental hospital. Do you believe him or me?" He originally thought that Fatty Wang's wife would choose to believe him, but the woman said without hesitation, "I believe this little brother." The reason why the woman made such a simple choice was that Qin Haodong's symptoms were exactly the same as Fatty Wang's. Secondly, she was really frightened by the electric baton in Mogwili's hand. Stupid. How stupid. You would rather believe a little liar than a regular doctor. Mogwili glared at the woman and then said, "It's okay if you don't believe me. Pay the consultation fee and we will leave immediately." He turned back to a nurse and said, "Xiao Zhao, calculate the consultation fee for her." The nurse said, "It's 1,680 yuan in total." The woman was shocked and cried, "Why is it so much money? And the consultation fee? We didn't use you to treat us. It's your business whether you need to see a doctor or not. Anyway, we are already here. Because your family has occupied the hospital's medical resources, it is natural to pay the fee. Pay up quickly." Qin Haodong frowned and said, "Are you crazy about money? You want to charge her 1,680 yuan without moving a finger?" Mogwili looked back at him and said, "You are a little liar. What do you know? This is the hospital's normal fee." Qin Haodong said coldly, "Who are you calling a liar?" "I'm talking about you." Mogwili said arrogantly, "You said he is not mentally ill and possessed. What are you if you are not a liar? Cure him if you have the ability. I don't want a penny of the money." "Did you say that?" "Of course I said it. I always keep my word. Even my spit is a nail. Well, let's make a bet." Qin Haodong waved his hand and took out 2 stacks of unopened Huaxia currency. He said, "I have 20,000 yuan here. If I can't cure the patient in 10 minutes, the money is yours. If I can cure him, you take out an extra 20,000 yuan as the nutrition fee for the patient. How about it? Do you dare to make a bet? Are you sure you are not joking?" Mogwili asked in disbelief. In his opinion, Qin Haodong was simply giving him money. Even the best psychiatrist in the world could not cure a violent mental patient in just 10 minutes. Qin Haodong said, "Of course it's true. As long as you agree, we can sign a bet immediately. Okay, I'll bet with you. Chapter 182. After that, Qin Haodong handed 20,000 yuan to the woman and said, "It's not convenient to be watched when I'm treating the patient. Take them to the yard and wait for me." Okay. The woman was very afraid of the ghost that Qin Haodong mentioned. She immediately agreed and left the room to wait. Ma Guoli and the others also went back to the van. After they left, Qin Haodong opened the door and stepped into the room where Fatty Wang was. Fatty Wang was waving the kitchen knife and roaring in the room. Seeing the door was opened, he immediately raised the knife and rushed over. Qin Haodong reached out and the mirror of yin yang appeared in his palm. He had some experience in using this divine artifact now. Holding the mirror of yin yang, he shook it at Fatty Wang and shouted, "Demon, show yourself." The yin-yang mirror shot a golden light into the space between Fatty Wang's eyebrows. Fatty Wang immediately froze there like a statue. Then a cloud of black mist rose from the top of his head and slowly turned into the image of a woman in a red ancient costume. At first, the woman looked ferocious, but when she saw the mirror of yin-yang in Qin Haodong's hand, she immediately showed a look of horror. As a ghost, she instinctively felt the power of the divine artifact. The ghost in red cried, "Master, please spare my life." Qin Haodong said, "Demon, you should be reincarnated as soon as you die. Why do you stay in the world of the living to harm people? Master, please help me. I died unjustly." The ghost in red said. Then she knelt down and kept kowtowing to Qin Haodong. "What injustice? Tell me." Qin Haodong said. "I was born in an ordinary farmer's family. Although I lived a poor life, I lived a happy life with my husband and children. Who would have thought that Zhang Dahu took a fancy to this little girl? He beat my man to death, threw my 2-year-old son to death, and took me to his house. I was so angry that I hanged myself in the middle of the night in red clothes in order to get revenge on Zhang Dahu. I turned into a fierce ghost to kill him. I didn't expect that after my death, Zhang Dahu invited a very powerful Taoist to suppress me in the statue of Guanyin. A few days ago, the statue of Guanyin broke and I was able to get out of it. So I must get revenge on Zhang Dahu. As long as you can help me, I'll let you do whatever you want." The ghost in red was sobbing when she said that. Qin Haodong sighed. She was also a poor person. He asked, "Which era were you born in?" The female ghost in red said in surprise, "I'm not talented and I don't understand what you mean. Please tell me." Qin Haodong said, "I was born in the Qing dynasty, and what era were you when you were alive?" "What era were you?" The ghost in red said, "I was born in the Qing dynasty and my era was Kangxi." The ghost in red said, "I was born in the Kangxi." Qin Haodong said, "Zhang. It's been more than 300 years. I'm afraid that Zhang Dahu has already reincarnated many times. Who are you going to take revenge on?" "What? More than 300 years?" The female ghost in red was stunned. She was trapped in the statue of Guanyin. It was dark all day and she had no concept of time. She only wanted to take revenge. She did not expect that more than 300 years had passed in the blink of an eye. She was trapped in the statue of Guanyin. It was dark all day and she had no sense of time. She just wanted to get revenge. She didn't expect that more than 300 years had passed. The female ghost in red slowly came back to her senses. There was no Zhang Dahu in this world, so there was no point for her to stay. She said, "But master, I can't find a way to reincarnate." Qin Haodong raised the mirror of yin-yang and said, "This magic weapon can communicate with the yin and yang. I'll send you there." "Thank you, master." The ghost in red kowtowed to Qin Haodong again and then jumped to the mirror. The yin-yang mirror flashed, and the figure of the female ghost in red immediately disappeared. Just at this moment, Fatty Wang quivered, his eyes slowly regaining their clarity. Although the female ghost controlled his body just now, he still saw clearly what happened around him. He knelt down in front of Qin Haodong and said, "Little brother, thank you for saving me. You are my great benefactor. Get up. Go to see your wife." Qin Haodong helped Fatty Wang up and they went to the door together. The woman had been waiting in the yard. She couldn't believe it when she saw Fatty Wang coming out with Qin Haodong. Fatty Wang looked normal and didn't look crazy anymore. Little brother, is my husband cured?" She hesitated and said to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong turned to Fatty Wang and said, "Go and say hello to your wife." Fatty Wang took 2 steps forward and looked at the bruises on the woman's face. He said guiltily, "Honey, I'm sorry. Honey, it's great. You're cured." The woman was sure that Fatty Wang's spirit had returned to normal. She immediately jumped into his arms and cried. She had suffered too much grievance and mental pressure these days. Qin Haodong turned to Ma Guoli, who was watching, and said, "How about it? I've cured the patient. Can you fulfill your bet?" The best punishment for such a bad doctor who only cared about money was to make him lose a lot of money. That was why Qin Haodong bet 20,000 yuan with him. Ma Guoli was dumbfounded as he watched from the side. He never expected that this young man would be able to cure a berserk mental patient in less than 10 minutes. After hearing Qin Haodong's words, his face immediately changed and he cried, "Nonsense. I think this is an intermittent psychosis. It will happen again later." Ma Guoli waved to the 2 nurses behind him and said, "You catch this intermittent psychosis. I think this young man is not in good spirits. Take him back to the hospital for treatment." After that, he turned on the switch of the electric baton in his hand and rushed to Qin Haodong with it. Qin Haodong was angry. This guy not only wanted to renege on his promise, but also wanted to take him away as a psychosis. He dodged the electric baton with blue electric arcs, then grabbed Ma Guoli's arm and twisted it gently. The electric baton was directly stuck on his thigh. "Ah!" Ma Guoli let out a scream. The strong electric current made him twitch all over. He lost his ability to move and fell to the ground with a plop. Seeing that the attending doctor was subdued by Qin Haodong, the 2 nurses quickly stopped and hid behind Ma Guoli in fear. Qin Haodong looked at Ma Guoli, whose hair was standing up and face was pale. He stepped in front of him and said with a sneer, "You usually shock others a lot. Now you should taste the electric baton yourself. How about it? Not bad, right? You. Ma Guoli struggled to stand up, but he had just been shocked by the electric baton. His whole body was sore and numb. He struggled a few times but failed. "What do you want?" He looked at Qin Haodong nervously and said, "It's not what I want. You should be willing to accept your defeat." Qin Haodong said as he took out the bet agreement from his pocket. "It's written in black and white. As long as I cure the patient within 10 minutes, you have to pay 20,000 yuan. Ma Guoli bit his lip and quibbled, "But he's not cured. His emotional stability is just an illusion, so I didn't lose." Qin Haodong smiled playfully. This guy really cared about money more than his life. At this time, he was still thinking about how to renege on his debt. He turned to Fatty Wang and said, "Brother Wang, he said you're not cured. I heard that it's not illegal for a mentally ill person to kill someone. I'll leave it to you." Fatty Wang was almost taken to the mental hospital by this guy. His heart was full of anger. After hearing Qin Haodong's words, he reached out and grabbed an axe for chopping firewood. He strode to Ma Guoli and swung the axe to chop him. Ma Guoli didn't expect that Qin Haodong would come up with such a way. He was so scared that he wet his pants. He hurriedly cried, "I surrender. I give up. I'll give you the money." Qin Haodong raised his hand to stop Fatty Wang and said, "Give him a bank account number and let him transfer the money." Fatty Wang put down the axe and asked his wife to send a bank card to Ma Guoli. Although Ma Guoli loved money, he finally took out his mobile phone and transferred 20,000 yuan when he saw the shining axe in Fatty Wang's hand. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "That's right. Gambling depends on one's character. A good comrade is a good comrade." Ma Guoli was so distressed at this time. It was 20,000 yuan. It seemed that he had to take more mental patience back in the future to earn back the money. Qin Haodong saw through his mind and said, "You don't deserve to be a doctor at all. You don't deserve to be a doctor anymore. You don't have to work anymore." Ma Guoli didn't speak, but he didn't care. He thought to himself, "It's not up to you to decide whether I'm a doctor or not." Then Qin Haodong took out his mobile phone from his pocket and dialed Pan Gaofeng, the director of the sanitary bureau. He briefly told him about Ma Guoli's situation. Pan Gaofeng was furious. "I didn't expect that there was such a scumbag in the team of doctors. Dr. Qin, don't worry. I'll deal with it." The aftereffects left by the electric baton on Ma Guoli's body had gradually faded. He slowly stood up from the ground and moved his stiff and numb limbs. Just then, his mobile phone rang in his pocket. As soon as he pressed the answer button, he heard the director growling, "Ma Guoli, you bastard. Who let you go out and mess around? From now on, you're fired." Ma Guoli was shocked and said quickly, "Director, listen to my explanation." But before he could finish, the other side hung up the phone with a bang. At this time, the director of the mental hospital was in a mess. The sanitary bureau had set up an inspection team to review the management system of the mental hospital. Now he couldn't protect himself, so he didn't have time to listen to his explanation. At this time, Ma Guoli realized that the young man in front of him was not joking. He really had the power to make him lose his job as a doctor with a phone call. He quickly begged, "Little brother, please forgive me this time. I won't dare to do it again. In the future? If Brother Wang had been taken to the mental hospital by you, or if I had been an ordinary person who had been taken to the mental hospital by you, would there still be a future? A scumbag like you doesn't deserve to be a doctor at all. Get out of here." Qin Haodong had no pity for people like Ma Guoli who lacked medical ethics. Whether it was a psychiatrist or an ordinary doctor, sometimes a wrong diagnosis could destroy the rest of the patient's life. Fatty Wang raised the axe in his hand again and shouted fiercely, "Did you hear that? Dr. Qin asked you to get out." Seeing that there was no hope of redemption, Ma Guoli could only leave with the two young nurses. After he left, the woman gave the bank card and 20,000 yuan in her hand to Qin Haodong and said, "Little brother, this is your money." Qin Haodong said, "Sister, take the money first. Clean up the house later and buy some supplements for Brother Wang. Otherwise, he won't be called fat in the future." Fatty Wang said quickly, "Dr. Qin, how can I do that? I'm grateful that you saved me. How can I take your money?" Chapter 183. Hearing Qin Haodong mention the last time, Fatty Wang said awkwardly, "Dr. Qin, I'm sorry. I was blind last time. I shouldn't have blackmailed you." Qin Haodong raised his hand to stop Fatty Wang and said, "You misunderstood me. In fact, we should all thank that mirror. It's a magic instrument. It saved me once and just saved your life. Without that mirror, it would be really difficult to deal with the ghost on your body." Ah. Fatty Wang was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that the mirror that he had treated as waste and used to blackmail the porcelain would be so useful. Qin Haodong said, "Where did that mirror come from? Do you remember?" Fatty Wang came to his senses and said, "In our business, we often go to villages and towns and pick up some leftovers from the hands of ordinary people who don't know antiques. That mirror was sold to us by an old man. I thought it was a good thing, but I found many experts and they couldn't identify what it was. Later, I put it on display for a long time and didn't sell it, so I used it to blackmail. Can you still find the old man who sold the mirror?" Qin Haodong asked, unwilling to give up. Fatty Wang shook his head and said, "I can't find him. I met the old man on the road. I don't know where he lives. Qin Haodong was disappointed. Originally, he wanted to find the origin of the Mirror of Enyang through this clue. Maybe there were other ancient relics there and he could find an opportunity to improve his cultivation. Now it seemed impossible. After calming down, he said to Fatty Wang, "You've been in the antique circle for a long time. Do you know anyone who has antiques like a cauldron? The bigger the better. What do you want it for?" Fatty Wang whispered in Qin Haodong's ear, "Brother, you saved my life. I don't treat you as an outsider. To tell you the truth, this kind of bronze heavy ware is strictly controlled by the state. It can't be taken to the public at all, or it will be very troublesome." Qin Haodong said, "You misunderstood me. I don't want to sell it. I just want to find something I need." "Well," Fatty Wang said, "to tell you the truth, I have some bronze ware in my hand, but I didn't put it at home. If you really need it, you can come with me and have a look. But we have a deal. You can take whatever you like, but you have to keep it a secret from me. Bronze wares are all from the underground. Although Big Brother bought them with money, we can't let others know." "No problem." Qin Haodong simply agreed. There were many things like grave robbing and selling antiques in Huaxia. It was not something that a doctor like him could handle. Moreover, Fatty Wang was telling the truth. He did not have the kind of death aura unique to grave robbers. At this time, Fatty Wang's wife brought 2 bowls of instant noodles. Fatty Wang was starving these days, so he quickly ate up the 2 bowls of instant noodles and then left home with Qin Haodong. Instead, they took Haodong's SUV. Fatty Wang drove to Fatty Wang's SUV and went out of the city. They went to a Qin's car and drove by Haodong. There were 3 shabby tile-roofed houses in the yard. Fatty Wang opened the door and took Qin Haodong into the house. Then he moved a large water tank in the kitchen and revealed a hole. They went into the hole. Fatty Wang groped along the wall for a long time, and then turned on the light. The hole was instantly lit up. Qin Haodong looked around. Although the hole was very small, it was very spacious below. It was about 30 or 40 square meters, and it was very dry. In front of them, there were all kinds of bronze ware, large and small, such as a bronze tripod weighing 50 kilograms, and small candlesticks, copper coins and so on. Fatty Wang said, "Brother, all my property over the years is here. No matter what you like, just take it." Qin Haodong looked around and suddenly saw a big tripod in the corner. The tripod was about the height of a man and looked very strong. Qin Haodong walked over. Before he got close to the tripod, he felt a scorching aura and faintly smelled the remaining smell of elixirs. "It's a medicine tripod, it's really a medicine tripod." Qin Haodong felt a burst of excitement in his heart. He had worn out iron shoes in fruitless searching, but found it by chance. He didn't expect that he really found a medicine tripod in Fatty Wang's place. He went to the tripod and looked at it carefully. The whole body of the tripod was dark bronze, and it was faintly full of a calm atmosphere. There were 9 lifelike dragons on the surface of the tripod, and the dragon heads were just at the mouth of the tripod. At the bottom of the tripod, there were 3 big words, 9 Dragon Tripod. Qin Haodong stroked the tripod and was ecstatic. He not only found a medicine tripod, but also of excellent quality. It was only 1 grade lower than the Medicine King tripod he used in the cultivation world. "Brother, do you like this thing?" Fatty Wang stepped forward and said, "I don't know what this thing is made of. It's not copper or iron. It's so big, but it's not too heavy." In order to prove it to Qin Haodong, he reached out and picked up the 9 Dragon tripod. Qin Haodong was secretly amused. Ordinary people didn't know what a magic weapon was. With the quality of the 9 Dragon tripod, it was a priceless treasure even in the cultivation world. How could it be made of copper and iron? He said, "Brother Wang, I want this tripod." "How much is it?" "You name your price." "Brother, aren't you mocking me?" If it weren't for you, I would have been sent to a mental hospital by that grandson, and my life would have been over. I just said that no matter which one you like, you can take it. Qin Haodong nodded. Although Fatty Wang was at the bottom of the society, he was grateful and could be regarded as a person to be friends with. Brother Wang, do you know where this tripod came from? He had confirmed that the nine-dragon tripod was a medicine tripod used by cultivators to refine medicine. If he could find the origin of the nine-dragon tripod, maybe he could find an ancient site. If he could find the cave of an ancient cultivator, he would be really rich. The treasures inside would definitely improve his cultivation to a level. Fatty Wang shook his head and said, I don't know about this. There is a rule in our business. Only pay the price, don't ask the origin. If you ask too much, people won't come next time. Can you contact the person who sold you things? Qin Haodong said, Brother Wang, I want to find out where this tripod came from. This is very important to me. As long as you can help me, we will be friends in the future. Fatty Wang said, the person who sold me this tripod is called Dilong. He specializes in underground work and has always made a living by robbing tombs. I bought many things here from him. But although we are old customers, we don't leave contact information with each other. You must know why. If you want to contact Dilong, you can only wait for him to come to me. But it has been almost a month since he last sent me goods. According to his habit in the past, he should come in a few days. Brother Wang, please leave my phone number. If Dilong comes, you must inform me. Don't worry, I have no other meaning. I just want to ask him something. Fatty Wang patted his chest and said, Don't worry, brother. Your business is my business. If Dilong comes, I will inform you as soon as possible. After talking about the tripod, Qin Haodong walked around the basement again, but he didn't find anything good. They went out of the basement with the nine-dragon tripod. After returning to Fatty Wang's home, Qin Haodong first put the tripod in his car, then found a place where no one was and directly put it into the storage ring. Although he didn't find the expected ancient ruins in this trip to the antique street today, he found the nine-dragon tripod, which was quite rewarding, and he also found the clue of Dilong. After getting the nine-dragon tripod, he went to the wholesale market of medicinal materials and carried out a crazy sweep, which cost him more than 30 million yuan. The space in the storage ring was very large. He was now extremely rich, so it was good to store more medicinal materials. The preparation was done. After dinner, Qin Haodong took the little fellow to Daddy's security company. He didn't disturb Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wan. He went directly to the basement warehouse and told Zhang Tiniu to take people to guard the door. No one was allowed to enter before he came out. After the last raw stone was processed, the spacious warehouse seemed empty. The little fellow asked, Papa, what do you take me here to play? Qin Haodong said, Papa will show you a trick first, and then we will play something fun. Then he moved his mind, and the nine-dragon tripod appeared in the center of the warehouse. Great! Great! Papa is great! The little fellow shouted happily, Papa, I also want to learn magic from you. You can't learn this now. When you grow up, I will teach you. Qin Haodong patted the little fellow's face and said, Tang Tang, let's play a game of refining medicine now, shall we? Okay, I like playing games best. Papa, tell me how to play. Qin Haodong opened the fire entrance of the nine-dragon tripod and said to the little fellow, You help Papa spit some fire into it. Okay. The little fellow opened her mouth and spat out a mass of innate fire into the nine-dragon tripod. Qin Haodong closed the fire entrance, then took out some of the cheapest medicinal materials and threw them into the nine-dragon tripod, constantly feeling the temperature of the innate fire. He had never used innate fire before, so he was not familiar with this kind of fire. After a short time, there was a muffled bang in the nine-dragon tripod, and all the medicinal liquid that had just melted in the furnace exploded. Fortunately, Qin Haodong had been mentally prepared, and immediately picked up the little fellow and avoided it. Fun. It's really fun. Papa, are you popping popcorn? The little fellow did not know that it was a failure in refining medicine, and clapped her little hands happily. Qin Haodong was speechless. He cleaned the 9-dragon tripod again and then said to Tang Tang, Tang Tang, throw less fire this time, just half of the last time. Okay, I will listen to Papa. The little fellow opened her mouth again and spat out a mass of innate fire into the furnace, but it was half the size of the last time. After that, he failed 3 times in a row, and Qin Haodong finally became familiar with the temperature of the innate fire and the use of the 9-dragon tripod. After the 5th refining, the fragrant medicine was finally out of the furnace. Qin Haodong reached out and caught the 9 white pills. There was a faint golden pattern on these pills. Good. It's really good. Qin Haodong was very satisfied. With the innate fire and the 9-dragon tripod, the elixir refined by him actually had elixir patterns. Although there was still a big gap from the 9 elixir patterns of the best elixir, it was still very commendable. In the cultivation world, the price of the medicine with the pattern was more than 10 times higher than that without the pattern. Papa, what's this? It smells good. Can you give one to me? Chapter 184. You're a foodie. Qin Haodong patted the little fellow's head and said, Tang Tang, remember that this is medicine. You can't take medicine indiscriminately. The 9 pills that he had just used as test subjects were called ecstasy pills. As long as one of them was crushed, it would be colorless and odorless, drifting in the air, and all living things within 100 meters would be intoxicated. Ecstasy elixirs were not popular elixirs in the cultivation world, but the materials were relatively cheap, so Qin Haodong chose to refine this kind of elixir when he practiced. Now that he was familiar with the nature of the innate fire in the 9-dragon tripod, he put away the 9 ecstasy elixirs and began to refine the spirit culturing elixirs. After a failure, Qin Haodong refined 9 spirit culturing elixirs. However, the higher the level of elixirs, the more difficult it was to refine. Compared with the low-level ecstasy elixirs, these 9 spirit culturing elixirs also had elixir patterns, but they were much dimmer. Next, he refined the spirit culturing elixirs one after another. The little fellow spat fire, collected the refined elixirs, and put the elixirs into the jade bottle. She was very busy and had a good time. After refining 108 spirit culturing elixirs, Qin Haodong began to refine the spirit culturing elixirs. The spirit culturing elixir could help masters in the concealing strength stage to improve their cultivation. Its level was much higher than that of the soul separating elixir and the spirit culturing elixir, so it was more difficult to refine, and the medicinal materials needed were more precious. He carefully started the 9-dragon tripod. Fortunately, with the previous experience, the spirit culturing elixir was successful in one try, but the quality of the elixir was a little worse, and there were no elixir patterns. After that, he refined 3 more times in succession and collected a total of 36 spirit culturing elixirs. It was 10:00 in the evening when all these elixirs were collected. Qin Haodong put the 9-dragon tripod into the storage ring, patted the little fellow's face and said, Tang Tang, are you tired? Not tired, it's fun. The little fellow said excitedly. Qin Haodong reached out to hold the little fellow's wrist and began to feel her pulse. He spat fire dozens of times tonight, and he was afraid that it would have a bad effect on the little fellow's body. However, he soon relaxed. Not only did spitting fire to refine pills not cause any harm to the little fellow, but it also made the Emperor Yen Heart Sutra in her body more stable. Although the total amount of true qi did not increase, it was much more condensed than before. It seemed that alchemy really did help to improve one's cultivation. After making sure that his daughter was fine, Qin Haodong carried the little fellow out of the underground warehouse and went to Naylan Wushuang's office. The conditions of Daddy's security company were good. It was a large suite with an office outside and a bedroom inside. Recently, the Naylan family had nothing to do, so Nalan Wushuang had been staying in the company. "Second mom, I'm here to see you." The little fellow immediately threw herself into Nalan Wushuang's arms and kissed her on the face. "Second mom, I miss you so much." Nalan Wushuang also liked the little fellow very much. She kissed her little face again and again, and then said to Qin Haodong, "You and your daughter went to the warehouse as soon as you came, and no one was allowed to enter. What on earth were you doing?" The little fellow said, "Papa took me to refine medicine for fun." "It's so fun." Qin Haodong explained, "I think our cultivation is still too low. We should hurry to refine some elixirs to help everyone improve their cultivation." After that, he took out the refined elixirs and placed them on Nalan Wushuang's desk. "These 100 are spirit culturing elixirs, which are suitable for the divine mercenaries and your cultivation. They can quickly improve the cultivation of the clear strength stage. You can decide who is suitable to take them. These 20 are spirit culturing elixirs, which can improve the cultivation of covert strength warriors. The cultivation of others is not enough. Give Qi 10 and Ma Wenjua 10. You refined so many elixirs in such a short time?" Nalan Wushuang looked at the large and small jade bottles on the table and looked surprised. As a warrior, she was very clear about the value of these elixirs. If they were taken to the market, each of them could be sold at a sky-high price. Now they were taken out by Qin Haodong as jelly beans for his team members. She asked again, "Ma and Qi live here. Why don't you send them yourself?" "Oh. It's too late. Tang Tang is going to sleep. I'll take her back now. You can send them for me." After that, Qin Haodong left Nalan Wushuang's office with the little fellow in his arms. In fact, the most important reason why he didn't send the elixirs himself was that he didn't know how to face Qi. After going downstairs, he drove the little fellow away from the daddy security company. He didn't know that in a bedroom behind him, a pair of big bright eyes had been watching his back until he completely disappeared. After Qin Haodong left, Qi lay on her bed again. After the battle of life and death that day, she was sure that she had fallen in love with this man. However, Qin Haodong obviously came to the company, but he didn't come to see her, which made her feel lost again. She didn't know where to go in the future. Qin Haodong took the little fellow home. After coaxing her to sleep, he left the Lin's villa and walked to his home. I don't know if Hu Shaoxian has left. Thinking of the woman at home, he felt upset and really didn't know how to deal with it. He looked up and saw that the lights in the living room and bedroom were off. It was dark and there was no light. Did she leave? Qin Haodong thought as he went upstairs. There was no one in the living room, but there was a faint light coming from the kitchen. He walked over and saw Hu Shaoxian was busy in the kitchen. At this time, her hair was coiled on the top of her head, and a pink floral home dress couldn't hide her curvy figure. Her cheeks were white and tender, and her expression was quiet and serious. She looked like a little wife who was busy cooking for a man. There was a different kind of beauty in her. Qin Haodong couldn't help but stare at her. At this time, Hu Shaoxian stood up straight and stretched her waist. Suddenly, her whole body showed a kind of curvy beauty, vividly explaining what it meant to be protruding and concave, extremely sexy and attractive. Have you seen enough? Do you want me to change your position again? While speaking, she smiled at Qin Haodong. This smile was so bright that the whole kitchen seemed to add countless colors. Qin Haodong came to his senses and scratched his head awkwardly. He said, "Why haven't you left yet?" "I said that I will live here in the future." "Why should I leave? This is the new home dress I bought today. Do you think it looks good?" Hu Shaoxian said as she turned in a circle in front of Qin Haodong, showing the pink home dress in all directions. "It looks good," Qin Haodong said subconsciously, completely forgetting that he was just driving her away. A burst of fragrance came, and Hu Shaoxian flew to his side like a beautiful butterfly. She whispered, "I also bought a few super sexy pajamas. I'll wear them for you later." Because they were very close, Hu Xiaoxian's breath went directly into Qin Haodong's ears. Coupled with the tempting body fragrance, it made his heart full of weeds in an instant. It was like all kinds of weeds were growing. This woman was really seductive. Qin Haodong had deeply felt that no matter what Hu Xiaoxian did, she could easily cause a wave in his heart. Hu Xiaoxian said again, "You came back so late. Are you hungry? Try the love dinner I made for you." "I'm not hungry. I've already eaten." "Even if you're not hungry, you have to taste my cooking. I've been busy all day," Hu Xiaoxian said as she held Qin Haodong's arm. The two towering mountains on her chest piled up on his arm, making him fully experience what was called amazing elasticity. His brain was still hesitating about whether to go in and have a taste, but his legs had already been out of control to the kitchen. There were 4 exquisite side dishes and a bowl of soup on the kitchen table. These dishes looked very ordinary, but bursts of fragrance went directly into Qin Haodong's nose. "Eat quickly. Are you afraid that I'll poison you? You're not Wu Dalong, and I'm not Pan Jinlian," Hu Xiaoxian said as she stretched out 2 white and tender fingers, directly grabbed a golden meat strip from the plate and sent it to his mouth. Qin Haodong opened his mouth subconsciously, and Hu Xiaoxian directly sent the meat strip into his mouth. Her fingertips slid across his lips, but there was a ripple in his heart. Just as his heart was in a frenzy, a strong aroma began to fill his taste buds, stimulating his brain nerves. Qin Haodong began to close his eyes and slowly chewed the meat strip in his mouth, only feeling that his mouth was full of delicious taste. The meat strip made by Hu Xiaoxian was definitely not ordinary beef. Every time he chewed, there was a different taste. Some were fresh and tender, and some were crisp and refreshing. There were all kinds of changes in the taste. In this way, after eating a meat strip, he was not satisfied. He opened his eyes and looked at the plate. After a closer look, he found that each beef strip was made up of 4 small meat strips. No wonder there were so many tastes. He couldn't help but pick up the chopsticks, picked up another meat strip and sent it into his mouth. "How is it? Is it delicious?" Hu Xiaoxian bent down and stared at Qin Haodong. At the same time as she asked, a deep ravine with countless scenery rushed out from the collar of her home clothes, crazily raging Qin Haodong's eyes. Delicious, really delicious," Qin Haodong said as he stretched out his chopsticks to pick up more food, in order to divert the attention of his eyes. Otherwise, he was really afraid that his nose would bleed, which would be a great shame. It had to be said that Hu Xiaoxian's cooking was really good. Although Qin Haodong had already eaten in the evening, these dishes opened his taste buds. He couldn't help but eat up the 4 dishes and 1 soup like a gust of wind. "I didn't know that your cooking was really good." Qin Haodong patted his belly with satisfaction and said, "Unfortunately, they are all meat dishes. There are few vegetables, and it tastes a little greasy. I don't know why, I can only cook meat dishes. Vegetarian dishes all taste the same when they come out of my hands. They taste terrible." Hu Xiaoxian took Qin Haodong's arm and said, "I've been busy all day, but I haven't eaten yet." Qin Haodong was embarrassed for a while. He had eaten too much just now. He had eaten all the dishes on the table, but she hadn't eaten yet. "Well, I'll make some dishes for you. Contrary to you, I can only cook vegetarian dishes. I'm not good at cooking meat," Qin Haodong said as he stood up, took out a few vegetarian dishes from the refrigerator and began to busy himself. His cooking skills were superb and his cooking methods were special. In less than half an hour, 4 vegetarian dishes were placed on the table, and there was a pot of fragrant porridge. Hu Xiaoxian first picked up a barley vegetable in confusion and put it into her mouth. Then she ate it in big mouthfuls. Although she tried to maintain the image of a beautiful woman in front of Qin Haodong, these dishes were so delicious that she couldn't control her mouth at all. Chapter 185. Then she looked at Qin Haodong coquettishly and said, "Little man, we are really a match made in heaven. You see, I'm good at cooking meat, and you can make vegetarian dishes so delicious. It's a perfect match. If we open a restaurant together, it will be popular in the whole Jiangnan." Qin Haodong couldn't stand her fiery eyes, so he quickly changed the topic and said, "It's getting late. Let's go to bed. It's all your fault. You made me pregnant." Hu Shaoxian stroked her belly and said, "I just ate so much. I'll get fat when I sleep. Why don't we do some exercise together to digest it?" You do it yourself." Qin Haodong looked embarrassed. Hu Shaoxian rolled her eyes at him and said, "A big man is so timid. It's okay if you don't want to do exercise with me. I'm going to take a bath. I've been busy in the kitchen all day. I smell of smoke." After that, she twisted her sexy body and walked to the bathroom. Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. In terms of appearance, Lin Momo would not lose to Hu Shaoxian, but he didn't know why this woman would stir up the fire in his body every time she raised her hand. He simply cleaned up the kitchen and then returned to the living room. He did eat a little too much just now. He originally wanted to turn on the TV to kill time. Unexpectedly, when he just sat on the sofa, before he picked up the remote control, he heard a cry from the bathroom, "Little man, go and get me a set of pajamas. I want the black one." Qin Haodong hesitated. It seemed a little inappropriate for a man like him to get pajamas for a woman. Hu Shaoxian seemed to see his mind and continued to cry, "If you don't go and get it for me, I'll go by myself. I don't like to wear clothes anyway. Don't. Let me go." Qin Haodong came to the room where Hu Shaoxian lived and found that there were a lot of feminine decorations in the room. The whole style had changed and was full of femininity. He couldn't help but have a headache. It seemed that this woman really wanted to live here for a long time. It was really a kind of torture to live with such a woman. Just as he was thinking, Hu Shaoxian's cry came to his ears again, "Have you found it? I want that black pajamas." Qin Haodong opened her wardrobe and found it full of all kinds of colorful women's underwear. There were dozens of lace and embroidered underwear. The black pajamas that Hu Shaoxian said were very easy to find, because there was only one black one in the whole wardrobe. But the material was a little too thin. What was the difference between wearing and not wearing? Qin Haodong took the pajamas to the bathroom, knocked on the door and said, "I've brought you the clothes." Hu Shaoxian poked her head out of the bathroom and stretched out a white and smooth arm. Her cheeks were white and rosy after the bath. She looked particularly attractive, especially the outstretched arm. Her whole white shoulder and sexy collarbone were exposed, which made people have infinite reverie. The worst thing was that the bathroom door was frosted. Although he couldn't see it clearly, the vague outline was even more tempting. Qin Haodong lifted his clothes and stood at the bathroom door in a daze. Hu Shaoxian smiled and said, "Give me the clothes. Come in and have a look if you want to. I don't care anyway." Qin Haodong came to himself and quickly gave the pajamas to Hu Shaoxian. Then he turned around and ran back to the living room. What a vixen. As soon as he sat down on the sofa, Hu Shaoxian came over in the black gauze pajamas. The thin black gauze could not hide the charming scenery below at all. It only added to the temptation out of thin air. Suddenly, Qin Haodong felt hot in his nostrils. He finally knew what was the difference between wearing the gauze pajamas and not wearing them. It was more tempting to wear them than not. As a great man said, a woman wearing clothes was far sexier than being naked. What do you think? Is my pajamas sexy? Does it look pretty? Do you want me to change into a bikini for you to see? Hu Shaoxian said, twisting her body in front of Qin Haodong. It seemed that she wanted him to appreciate her in all aspects. Qin Haodong quickly reached out to cover his nose and said, "No, this one is good." Hu Shaoxian said with some dissatisfaction, "You are so boring. I carefully chose the underwear for you. In order to ease the embarrassment, Qin Haodong took out a big spirit culturing pill and held it in his palm. This is the elixir I refined. It's for you. Hu Shaoxian rolled her eyes at him and said coquettishly, you are so bad. Isn't this enough? You even let me take medicine. Qin Haodong said, This is the big spirit culturing pill I refined. It can improve your cultivation. He had reserved the elixir for Hu Shaoxian. Although he had not figured out the woman's purpose, she was the little fellow's savior. It was nothing to give her a pill. Really? As a member of the Xianyuan Pavilion, Hu Shaoxian knew very well how valuable the elixir that could improve the cultivation of warriors of covert power was. She reached out to take the big spirit culturing pill and said, anyway, I am destined to be yours. No matter what medicine it is, I will take it. Then she threw the pill directly into her mouth. The pill melted in her mouth. Soon, Hu Shaoxian felt a heat flow rising from her dantian. Then her genuine qi boiled like boiling water, and the speed of operation increased more than 10 times. What kind of elixir is this? How can the effect be so amazing? She had taken a lot of elixirs to improve her cultivation before, but the effect was much worse than that of the big spirit culturing pill. At this time, she had no time to think about it. She sat cross-legged on the ground, ran her genuine qi, and began to break through to the second level of covert power. On the road of martial arts, the higher the cultivation, the more difficult it was to make progress. Hu Shaoxian was also a martial arts genius. She had entered the threshold of covert power very early, but she had been stuck in the second level of covert power for some time. But now with the help of the big spirit culturing pill, everything seemed to become simple. After the genuine qi ran 3 times, she vaguely heard a cracking sound in her body. Then the genuine qi in her body was more than twice as strong as before. The bottleneck of the second level of covert power, which she had failed to break through many times, was broken. Feeling Hu Shaoxian's momentum suddenly increased, Qin Haodong knew that she had broken through. He couldn't help but secretly sigh in his heart. This woman's cultivation was getting stronger and stronger, and the possibility of driving her away was getting smaller and smaller. Hu Shaoxian was ecstatic. She stood up and came to Qin Haodong. She stretched out a pair of white arms around his neck and said, Thank you for the pill, little man. How can I thank you? Do you want to marry me? Qin Haodong swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The more powerful this woman's cultivation was, the stronger the temptation seemed to be. He quickly took 2 steps back and said, It doesn't matter. It's just a pill. You're also the savior of my daughter. You are so kind to your daughter. Hu Shaoxian said. She came to Qin Haodong again and said coquettishly, How about I give birth to one for you? Well, you have just broken through. You have to take the time to stabilize it. I'm going to sleep. After saying that, Qin Haodong ran back to his room and slammed the door. Hu Shaoxian smiled charmingly and murmured, Shy little man, you can't run away from me. The next morning, Qin Haodong repeatedly told the little fellow not to reveal his secret. After that, he sent her to kindergarten and then came to Daddy's security company. As soon as he entered the yard, he saw that the training ground was very lively. All the members of the company were training here. What was different from the past was that everyone's face was full of joy after their cultivation had been improved. In the middle of the field, Ma Wenjue and Qi Wan were fighting. Compared with before, their momentum had been greatly improved and they had reached the second level of covert power. It seemed that the effect of the spirit culturing pill was really good. In one night, they had been promoted from the first level of covert power to the second level. The boss is here, hello, boss. After seeing Qin Haodong, the members of the security company stopped what they were doing and looked at him with admiration and love. Ma Wenjue and Qi Wan also stopped fighting, but their behavior was completely different. Qi Wan stood there and looked at Qin Haodong with a complicated expression. Ma Wenjue ran over with a smile. It looks good. Your cultivation has been improved very fast. Qin Haodong said. Of course. Don't you see who I am? As long as there is no Qi girl, I am the best in the world. As Ma Wenjue said, he put his hand on Qin Haodong's shoulder and whispered, Brother, your pills are really good. They are much better than the small blue pills. Can you give me another 180 pills? Qin Haodong pushed him away and said, Do you think they are jelly beans? Another 180 pills. Those 10 pills are enough for you to cultivate to the supreme power realm. Take the next one after a few days when your cultivation is stable. Otherwise, it won't work at all. After a pause, he said, You have almost consolidated your cultivation during this time. Let's go now. That's great. I've been waiting for this day. Ma Wenjue said with a smile, Go to Shanghai to find me after a while. At that time, you will be the boss of the whole underground of Shanghai. Qin Haodong glared at him and said, I want you to open a security company, not to be a gangster. It's not much different. Anyway, I will definitely surprise you when the time comes. Then Ma Wenjue began to gather his 100 security guards. These people were ready to go. After receiving the order, they quickly gathered and left Jiangnan City with Ma Wenjue. From that day on, the underground world of Shanghai changed dramatically. There was a legend named Brother Ma. After sending Ma Wenjue and others away, Qin Haodong was about to talk to Qi Wan when 4 or 5 luxury cars drove into the security company. After the cars were parked, Chen Fugui and others got out first, and then Ouyang Shanshan got out of the car. Qin Haodong and Nailan Wushuang greeted them together and said with a smile, Superstar, why do you have so much time today? Ouyang Shanshan said, I'm here to talk to Sister Wushuang about business, but I also have something to talk to you about. Nailan Wushuang said, Sister Shanshan, let's talk in the office. After that, they walked into the office holding hands. Qin Haodong looked at them and shook his head secretly. Women were really strange creatures. At the beginning, they quarreled with each other, but now they had become good sisters. After entering the office, the two chatted intimately, from the most popular cosmetics to the most fashionable clothes. They chatted intimately. Qin Haodong stared at them and couldn't help asking, Didn't you say that you have business to talk about? Nailan Wushuang glared at him and said, Don't you have to wait until we finish talking about business? Qin Haodong was speechless. He really didn't know what business was in the eyes of women. Chapter 186. Nailan Wushuang said, No problem. I'll give you the lowest price. After that, the two of them seemed to have changed from good sisters to business partners. One by one, they discussed the cooperation matters. Finally, the cooperation contract was negotiated and signed by both parties. Qin Haodong listened for a long time and asked, Is it about me? If not, I'm going to work. Isn't the company yours? How come it's not about you? Nailan Wushuang glared at him and said, You don't want to be a good boss. You have to work for others. Qin Haodong said with embarrassment, I'm just a little doctor. It's more appropriate for you to be in charge of the company. Ouyang Shanshan said, Dr. Qin, I want to invite your daughter to my concert tomorrow. Is that okay? That's a good thing. Of course. Qin Haodong agreed without hesitation. On the one hand, he was happy to let his daughter participate in more activities. On the other hand, Ouyang Shanshan was the little fellow's idol. It was absolutely the happiest thing for his daughter to hold a concert with Ouyang Shanshan. But is it too late for the concert tomorrow night? It doesn't matter. Tang Tang is very talented. Send her to my company tomorrow morning. We'll rehearse for a day and she can go on stage in the evening. Well, it's a deal. Ouyang Shanshan said and took out 2 VIP tickets and gave them to Qin Haodong. These are the tickets for the concert. Come and watch our performance with Miss Lin. Okay, I'll go. Qin Haodong said and reached out to take the tickets, but Nalan Wushuang took them away first. Just give Miss Lin one. You don't need a ticket. Nalan Wushuang took back one of the tickets and gave the other to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong said in surprise, why don't I need a ticket? Do I look like a child? Can I get a free ticket? Nalan Wushuang looked at him and smiled strangely. Because you are the security guard of our company. You just have to stand guard and keep order. You have no time to watch the performance. You want me to stand guard? Qin Haodong asked with a bitter face. Nalan Wushuang smiled and said, of course. Such a large concert is short of hands. Don't forget, you are also a member of the company. You have to obey my command. This, all right then. Qin Haodong had no choice but to agree. At this time, he was extremely regretful. If he had known earlier, he would have asked Ma Wenjue and the others to leave 2 days later. After discussing the concert, Nalan Wushuang and Ouyang Shanshan continued to talk about fashion. Qin Haodong drove to Lin's group for work. When he was about to get off work, he received a call from Wang Rubing. After answering the phone, Wang Rubing yelled, you brat, you haven't called me for so many days. Have you forgotten your sister now that you have a wife? Sis, I've been too busy lately. Qin Haodong was indeed a little embarrassed. He had wanted to take his sister to his home, but he had been so busy these days that he forgot about Wang Rubing. Then tell me, what have you been busy with? Qin Haodong said, in fact, it's not a big deal. It's just that there are too many mosquitoes in the south of the Yangtze River recently. I'm in charge of family planning for them. The whole world is warming up, and I'm keeping the Antarctic warm. Otherwise, if it really melts, we will have to sell our houses and buy ships. Seeing him talking nonsense with a serious face, Zhang Jijie spat out a mouthful of tea that he had just taken in his mouth. Okay, I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. Wang Rubing directly interrupted Qin Haodong and said, no matter what you have to do, you have to go to dinner with me tonight. Dinner? Where are we going to eat? Qin Haodong asked. I've already reported to the sanitary bureau. Today, the section chief invited me to dinner. Come with me. Sister, it's not appropriate for me to go with a colleague who invites you to dinner, right? Qin Haodong said. What colleague? I don't think he has any good intentions towards me. He looks at me in a strange way. I'm afraid that he will do something bad to me if I go alone. Hearing this, Qin Haodong suddenly became interested and asked, how old is your section chief? How do I know? He looks less than 30 years old. Is he handsome? Not bad. He's not ugly. Wang Rubing suddenly came to her senses and cried, why do you ask this? Qin Haodong said, isn't he just right? Otherwise, my aunt would be urging you to find a boyfriend. Although he's a little older, he's barely suitable. You can think about it. Think about it, my ass. He's been married for several years, and his son is running around. Oh. Qin Haodong's face suddenly became cold when he heard that the other party was already married and was still pestering Wang Rubing. Sister, where are you now? I'll pick you up. Come on, I'll wait for you at the gate of the sanitary bureau. Wang Rubing hung up after saying that. Qin Haodong called Lin Momo and asked her to pick up the little fellow. Then, he drove directly to the sanitary bureau. When he arrived at the gate of the sanitary bureau, Wang Rubing, wearing a white dress, was already waiting there. Seeing the Lamborghini Centenario, Wang Rubing said in surprise, Dong, you really have a sugar daddy. Is this the car your sister-in-law bought for you? After asking Wang Rubing to get in the car, Qin Haodong said, what are you talking about? Although your brother is handsome, I always rely on my ability. I earned this car by myself. It has nothing to do with others. This car is so beautiful. Wang Rubing stroked the luxurious interior of the Lamborghini and said, Dong, you're really capable. I can't afford a sports car even if I don't eat or drink for a lifetime. That's easy. I'll give you one tomorrow. Chin Haodong also had a Porsche 911 at home. He decided to give it to Wang Rubing. He said it seriously, but Wang Rubing took it as a joke and didn't take it seriously at all. After starting the car, he asked, "Where are we going?" Wang Rubing said, "The director said that the hotel is called Dreamy Jiangnan. Has he booked a room there?" "Oh, I see." Chin Haodong had been to Dreamy Jiangnan twice in the past few days, so he was very familiar with it. He drove directly there. After arriving at the hotel, they were led to an ordinary private room by the waiter. After all, the minimum consumption of a VIP room with a terrace was at least 6 figures, which was not affordable for ordinary people. The waiter politely opened the door, and Wang Rubing and Chin Haodong walked in together. "Rubing, here you are." There was a young man sitting in the private room, wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses and a neat suit. He looked very gentle and handsome, but his eyes looked extremely wretched. He was Niu Fei, the section chief mentioned by Wang Rubing. He was excited when he saw Wang Rubing, but then he saw Chin Haodong behind her, and his face suddenly became cold. "Rubing, didn't I say I wanted to have dinner with you alone? Who is this man?" Wang Rubing said, "Section Chief Niu, this is my cousin Chin Haodong. He just had no place to eat tonight, so he came with me." She was mentally prepared and introduced Chin Haodong and Niu Fei. Hearing that he was Wang Rubing's cousin, Niu Fei's expression suddenly eased a lot and he said, "Cousin, sit down quickly." Chin Haodong didn't say much and sat down next to Wang Rubing. "Little Chin, where do you work?" Niu Fei asked. "I'm a senior at Jiangnan Medical University, and I haven't graduated yet." Chin Haodong had come here twice in a row to the VIP room. He had never been to such an ordinary private room, so he looked around while talking. Compared with the VIP room of Dreamy Jiangnan Hotel, the decoration of this ordinary private room was really not on the same level, but it was much more luxurious than ordinary hotels. However, in the eyes of Niu Fei, Chin Haodong was a bumpkin who had never seen a big scene. There was a trace of disdain in his eyes, and he said proudly, "Little Chin, you haven't graduated yet. No wonder you haven't been to such a high-end place. I tell you, this Dreamy Jiangnan Hotel is definitely the most high-end place in Jiangnan City. A meal will cost thousands of yuan, which ordinary people can't afford at all." Chin Haodong just smiled and did not speak. He came with Wang Rubing this time. As long as this guy didn't have any bad ideas about Wang Rubing, he didn't care. Soon, the waiter brought the wine and dishes to the table, and the 3 people began to eat. Niu Fei opened a bottle of red wine and frequently urged Wang Rubing to drink. Although Wang Rubing had some alcohol tolerance, she didn't drink with everyone. No matter how Niu Fei persuaded her, she just tasted it. However, Chin Haodong drank very happily. After a while, most of the bottle of red wine was in his stomach. Niu Fei glared at Chin Haodong discontentedly and said, "Little Chin, I think you're almost done eating. Why don't you go out for a walk? I have a few words to talk to your cousin alone." In his opinion, as long as Chin Haodong was sensible, he would give up the private room for him. However, Chin Haodong bowed his head and said vaguely while eating, "Chief Niu, you talk. I'll eat my food. Just pretend that I'm not here." Niu Fei glared at Chin Haodong fiercely, and his face was full of disgust. Wang Rubing said, "Chief Niu, my cousin grew up with me since he was a child. We have the best relationship. If you have anything to say, just say it." Niu Fei thought for a moment and no longer hid it. He said directly, "Rubing, to tell you the truth, since the day you came to report, I have taken a fancy to you and want you to be my lover." Chin Haodong still bowed his head and ate, but there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. This guy really didn't have a good intention for his cousin. Wang Rubing didn't expect Niu Fei to make such a request directly. She said with a cold face, "Chief Niu, don't you already have a wife and a son? For a man, marriage is marriage, family is family, and love is love. Niu Fei said plausibly, what I value is you. Although I can't marry you, you have to believe that my feelings for you are absolutely true. This time, Qin Haodong was completely shocked. He had never seen a person who could say such shameless things so confidently. How thick-skinned this guy was. Niu Fei continued, you won't suffer as my lover. You are still in the apprenticeship period. I can guarantee that you will become a regular employee as soon as possible, and you will have a good development in the future. At the same time, I will also take care of your brother's job after graduation. He can choose all the hospitals and departments in Jiangnan City. He can go wherever he wants. Wang Rubing said, Chief Niu, these are not what I want, and I can't agree to your request. Seeing that he was rejected for the second time, Niu Fei said with a sullen face, Wang Rubing, don't forget that you are just a poor student from a small county. You have no background and no money in Jiangnan City. There is no way out at all. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.